Oh wait, shit, I need to change.
Make sure the thing is the thing, correct? Thumbnail.
Yeah, I need to do that. And I also need to change the title. 30.
Drawing Rose versus Designs.
No, that's not what we're doing!
With KJ Burbank and
No,
Nightmare City
that's not what we're doing.
as the
Tonight
thumbnail.
is reading night. And I need to change the thumbnail. Real fast.
Goodness. Hello, peoples. Hello.
What was that?
I don't know. I just had I don't know.
Hello chat, hello chat, hello chat. Bum, 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 bum.
Let me make sure they can actually hear you this time.
Shut up.
Okay. I hear Rosa Cooling's voice.
Is it good? Should I turn it up? Should I turn anything up? Beetle?
I'm listening?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a good volume. It's a good volume and it's a good sound.
I'm changing the thumbnail. Hi, Skashu.
Skashu.
Skashu, why the fuck are you up right now? Hi, Veremus.
Yeah, wait. Hello.
Can I please change my thumbnail, please? Let me change it! We're reading more. I just have to I have to change the thumbnail. Give me a sec.
Skashu, stop being gay in the chat.
Skashu, shut up. Not in public.
Ew! Keep it to yourselves! Disgusting! Did you set up my little guy? My new little guy?
I haven't yet. I'm not gonna use him this time because if KJ joins, my laptop's gonna get overwhelmed.
Fuck. It's so silly though.
Beetle, it's not letting me change my fucking... Why is it doing this?
What's wrong?
It's not letting me change it. Hold on.
Change what? Oh, your thumbnail?
Yeah.
Maybe this will be the learning lesson of the week. Make sure the thumbnail is correct.
Stop! Don't be like that. It's not about KJ. He's not even gonna join. Beats up KJ because I want to see. Should I try to get your little guy set up?
If you want to. You don't have to, though.
You don't have to.
No! I don't mean it like that. I mean in a genuine, you do not have to. There's no, I don't know the word. Fuck. It's not rush.
Maybe I can change it on my computer. Hello, chat.
Pressure. No pressure.
It'd be so great if I could fucking change my fucking mouth.
What are you trying to change?
Trying to change
the thumbnail,
thumbnail, dude.
I don't know. Maybe we should just keep it like this.
No.
Everyone's already gotten the notification with KJ as the thumbnail.
I'm not doing that. Shut up.
You could always change it later.
I want to change it now.
Like after the stream, right? Or am I wrong? I don't know how YouTube works. Oh, I didn't post my TikTok of the day. Oh well.
You do that?
I've just been posting one of my TikToks every day for the past 2 days.
Is it doing good?
Kinda. I don't know what's good and what's not good on YouTube standards. I've gotten 1 comment on 1 video, I think. They're all shorts though. I'm trying to make an actual video.
Love these streams so much. Okay, can you read chat while I figure all this stuff out? Give me a second, chat. We're probably gonna start streaming at around like 8, like actually start reading at like 8:20. So if people want to go do something else while they wait, that's completely fine. I completely understand that. Give me a little bit to get completely set up. I was gonna get set
What
up, but I
chapter?
got distracted by KJ Morgs and Beetle. Because they were making me laugh.
Sorry, my bad. I'm just so naturally funny.
You're just hilarious.
Literally. Literally. Did you guys know that TikTok is back? Yeah. I've been on it. I've been on it this whole time. I just haven't posted.
I have a limit on there where I can only be on there for like 2 hours a day. So I'm not on there all the time.
Yeah, and then I send Rosa like 9 TikToks a day.
I only see them a little bit, and then I am gone.
Here. We just keep up the streak, though. We keep up the streak. Live, love, sans. Hashtag real. Me too. It's already been said. No. Cooking food right now. Slay. We love eating.
I love that the thumbnail that I always use is just nowhere to be found on Tumblr. This is great. I love my life. All the other versions that they drew isn't deleted.
9 a day is a lot. Well, I pretty much just send Rosa my whole For You page. So
times that
like almost
by
every
5
video.
people, and that's how much like TikToks they get sent a day. For anyone curious.
Sobs, TikTok back and it's still connected to my German VPN. I don't know German.
Oh no.
Terrifies. Are we talking about the fic?
What?
Hopefully it gets better soon. I think we're talking about the fic.
It does not get better soon.
Ooh, sorry guys.
Ooh. Sorry to break it to you.
Yeah. Oh, spilled ink? Oh.
That is not. That's
no,
not
that
gonna
one.
get better.
That one does not get better any soon, either. Yeah.
Isn't it supposed to be it gets worse before it gets better?
Yeah, it's just been on that uphill gets worse though.
Oh.
At the
Is it really
on that
bad?
getting worse grind.
Can I see?
Let me tell you. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. It's rough.
Where's my thumbnail? There we go.
Water.
Water.
My heart goes out to everyone who reads Spilled Ink because oh my god, it's an amazing fic, but it's so incredibly angsty. But the comfort is real nice. The comfort is real nice. Real nice. Hashtag real. Hashtag real. Love me her comfort. It's already rough. I'm on chapter 50 words. How much worse does it get? I don't know. Oh, Rosa, is there any specific character of yours you'd want to see more fan art of? Finish drawing one today, and do you want another one?
Oh, color sans. Color.
Oh. Ooh.
I want to see more color.
You know what? Hell yeah. It murders me every chapter. Yeah. Yeah. Was, I can't read. Hashtag me too. Hashtag me too. Color.
Okay.
We love Roseverse color. We love Roseverse color.
The thumbnail should be updated.
Should it?
Refresh.
Refreshing? See. Oh my god, YouTube, can you stop being fucking mean to me? Yeah, it's fixed.
Told you.
Just making sure, just making sure. Bit my tongue. No. Y'all have to start reading Roseverse starting from chapter 2. Facts.
It'll take
Facts.
forever. I'm not even done with it yet. KJ said, I'll join Unk.
I'll join Unk. Who's Unk?
I'll join Unk. Doesn't join. I told you. He never joins. As soon as he says, like, I'll be there in, like, a certain amount of time, bro's not showing up.
As soon as
He's
I catch up
not.
on Stroke, I'm going to read Roseverse next. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Is it okay that I'm just watching for the animatics / the parts with the voices? For Roseverse? Rosa?
Huh?
Oh, Strawberry asks, is it okay that I'm just waiting for the animatics / the parts with the voices?
Fun fact about that, you're not getting any more of those. Only the animatics. So I don't know. Oh, I love Little Guy as the name of it.
It's literally a little guy. It's just a little guy.
Little Guy
It's my little
too.
guy version of the Sona. Of my Kiona.
I feel like you changed
Roseverse manages to break and fix you at the same time. Facts. Straight
this
facts.
one too.
I want to see more of Flowerfell art with Dad Fell and Uncle Edge. Oh! I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that. Beep. Truth Acorn.
Your character's even smaller now.
I'm just a little guy.
Literally a little guy. You're so tiny.
Am I really?
Yeah.
Hmm. Eeny meeny. Does Color have his ref
I should have.
up on?
Oh shit! I haven't posted it yet. Oopsie daisy. I will do that after the stream.
Slay, slay. Still need to read the Hortel one-shot thing that is a part of the Roseverse universe.
That one is not
Yes.
going to be canon any longer. I haven't taken it out of the fic selection.
Damn.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Your guy is so tiny. He's so small.
Mean to. I'm sorry. He's just a little guy.
He needs to stop being a little guy. He's too tiny.
You can't just tell him to grow. That's not nice.
You look high, dude. Your character looks high.
No, I'm sleepy. I'm just sleepy.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's funny because we always do these streams like so late my time.
Not for me.
Not for me, and it's just an hour ahead.
We have only 200 more subs to hit until we hit 6,000 subscribers, guys. Woohoo!
Y'all make a color-based fanfic, or I'll have to do it. Please don't make me do it. I don't have a color-based fanfic, and I don't think Roseverse is color-based.
He's great, though. We're so close to 6,000 subscribers. It's so exciting.
Nodding my head, shaking my head, yes. Who is Color Sans creator? I really want to do more research on him.
Super Yomiya or something. You can probably find him being reblogged on Killer Sans' creators account on Tumblr because they're friends. So, if you're curious.
I love that you just know things.
Of course I do. I have to. It's my duty as a creator. Except now I'm becoming like big and it's scary. Oh.
Why'd you?
I did not mean to do that. I'm scrolling through Discord and I accidentally left, so.
Oh, Rosa, do you want to hear my join sound?
Not particularly, because I'm scared of how
Please?
loud it is. Sure.
It might.
Oh, hi, Abel! Oh. Oh my god! Ow! Ow! Ow!
And Knowles is Megalovania.
That's scary, dude. That scared the shit out of me. Abel's
You
here.
imagine-
Abel's here and you
imagine.
just scared the shit out of Abel.
I'm sorry. Hi, Abel.
That's so cruel of you.
6,000 means more adopted children for Rosa. Have fun with that,
Yes!
Rosa. Early this time, yippee.
More
Still working on the
kids.
drink
More kids.
Alright.
I really don't know, like, am I getting to the relevance where I need to think of a name for, like, my fan base? I don't think I'm that relevant yet.
The rose things.
The rose
Rosebud!
things.
The buds!
Oh,
The
rosebuds! Oh, my rosebuds! That's so cute!
I know. I know.
I don't know if I'm relevant enough to call people that yet, though.
My little rosebuds.
Maybe when I hit
Aw.
10K. Fandom is now called rose seeds or roselings. Oh! I like rose seeds. That's cute. You guys are so creative.
I don't know.
I mean that
I don't know.
genuinely.
Everyone's so creative. Rosie, you have over 5,000 subs. I think you have enough to do it. I agree.
Listen, but like,
agree.
I don't know.
Start early so it's not weird when you like start doing it. You know what I'm saying?
I know, but like people follow me for like just Undertale stuff, not necessarily me. I feel like people have a name for their fandom if they're followed for themselves. You know?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Just do it. Just do it. Just do it.
Roseling and rosebuds. KJ is playing a game about digging a hole. This bitch is not joining. Okay. Whatever.
Yeah. Let's get creative. Oh my gosh. Don't hug me, I'm scared. I love Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, right, Rosa?
But rosebirds. Maybe I'll have like a little vote on YouTube when I hit 6,000 of like, what should we name the group?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What should we name the group? Because I like rosebuds, I like rose seeds. Rose seeds could be like new members. Rosebuds could be like long-lasting viewers. How about that?
And if you subscribe to the channel,
you get to be a little seed and you get to grow.
This is like if you have a Patreon. It'd be like
different tiers.
You donate on Patreon, you get higher in the tiers.
If you're here before Roseverse, you're a rosebud, and if you were like after, it's like rose seed. Or like new viewers are rose seed. Bloomed roses could be the OG fans. Exactly. Bloomed roses, rosebuds. I feel so narcissistic talking like this. I don't know. I'm not ready to be famous. I'm not ready to hit 6,000. I'm not ready.
Rosa's gonna just delete her entire account and start from scratch.
Like, I'm not ready for this. I feel like really weird talking about it and being like, oh my god, no. It's weird. It's cute though. You already are famous.
Mm-hmm. You're famous in my heart. Fra.
I was here before Roseverse became a thing. Roseverse best verse, real. I think Kiki's verse is actually the best.
I love Kiki's verse. Love it.
Doodler's gonna join muted. To listen because they can't watch the stream. I was here much after Roseverse became a thing. Roseverse best. What would it be called though? Kiki verse? It could just be like a verse centered around Kiki.
Anytime I think of Kiki, I think of Kiki's delivery service. Also, I just like the name Kiki.
It's so cute. Kiki. Okay. So, it's past 8:20. What are we doing today, Beetle? I will answer for you, actually. So, today, every Saturday, or Sunday, or Friday, whenever we have availability, me and Beetle read a fanfiction called For the Forgotten Ones, written by I'm_sorry_buddy. I started this because I wanted to make a long analysis on For the Forgotten Ones, and then it just became its kind of own thing where people like will fall asleep to this stream, and also cry to this stream. It's basically me and Beetle enjoying our time and just reading this fic that's really cool. Right now we are on chapter 30. We switch off every chapter. I will read one chapter, Beetle will read the next. Usually we read 4 chapters. Lately we've been reading like 2 because we've been busy, but this time I think we can probably hit 4. I haven't read in a while, so we might be a little rusty, so we'll have to see about that. Some common trigger warnings in this fic. is, you know, abuse, mental and physical. There's going to be graphic descriptions of violence and graphic descriptions of injury, because Ink canonically is a healer in this. So they do not, like, belittle a lot of the injuries that happen in here, because he's very analytical about it and will describe it to its core. There's hints of mental disorders, nothing is explicitly stated. There's a lot of victim blaming as well. There's a sense of like a zombie apocalypse type of vibe, so if any of that stuff makes you uncomfortable, and anything that goes along with that type of stuff makes you uncomfortable, please heed with caution. I've reread this fic around like 5 times. This is like gonna be like my 6th read through, so I know a lot of the scenes, and I can kind of tell when something's gonna come up that's a little bit more triggering, but sometimes I can't completely tell, so I always have to say this warning just in front of it, to make sure that everyone can remember and be aware of like what might come up and what might happen in the fic. If it makes you uncomfortable at all, we're especially getting into the darker parts of the fic, so this message is gonna be like a lot more serious as we read along, like with the like nearer end chapters. Please be cautious. If it makes you uncomfortable, please, you know, take a step back. Also, a new kind of rule has been implemented. Kind of keep the chat centered around the fic. It's okay if you have like sideways topics, but try to keep it a little bit calm. Me and Beetle will be deleting comments that are like go a little bit too far from like Undertale or the fic in general. But some people just do generally have like conversations in the chat while we read, which is fine. Just make sure to keep it PG, keep it friendly. Don't talk about anything graphic, because the fic is already graphic enough. Just behave, you know, be polite.
Not in my head.
So just make sure everything's okay. If my audio cuts out at all, or if Beetle audio cuts out at all, don't be afraid to scream at us. We will listen. I cannot read chat when I'm reading, and Beetle cannot read chat when they're reading. So if you have any questions for either of us while we're reading, the other person will be typing in chat answering. Or we'll be pausing the other person so we can answer. We also do have commentary throughout the fic. I'm not gonna lie. That's kind of why it takes a little bit. Bye, Abel. That's kind of why it takes a little bit, because we do shop and we're just like, this is so gay.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind as well. We will be making a lot of jokes about them being gay. And we will be pausing sometimes and getting distracted. So, a lot of people like the commentary.
It lightens up the
lightens the mood.
Aggressive tone that is.
I am also not a voice. Everyone keeps saying I am. I'm a narrator voice actor. I am not a actor. So, forgive my acting for some parts of it. Beetle's an actual actor, so, you know.
Whoa, not an actor. Guys, I wasn't in theater.
Voice actor. And I'm more of a narrator. So, if, you know, stuff happens. I also have dyslexia, and I stutter. So, not gonna be a perfect read-through. Please keep that in mind before we get started. Yeah. And once again, I want to give a thanks to I'm_sorry_buddy for letting us dub this fic and reading out loud for you all. They used to be uncomfortable with it, and it's really fun and nice of them to allow us to do this, despite the fact that it's against their boundaries. They said it's okay. They said it's okay, but audiobooks...
So nice of them to let us do this, even though they hate it.
Audiobooks typically tend to be against their boundaries due to people taking them in using like AI voices to dub over it with AO3 fics, and they're not for AO3, so it's kind of against their boundaries in general. But they're allowing us to do this. They gave us a special permission, and we want to thank them. Their link should be in the description, as well as the person who made the thumbnail. Thank you, Talib Day. Oh whoa, love you. Thank you so much. Made beautiful art. They've made plenty of Ftfo art. So please follow them. Go support Buddy's other fics and support them in general. Buddy replies to all comments, so if you ever want to leave something nice, they will respond to it probably. So, yeah. With that out of the way, we can get started on chapter 30, Fractures in White. Let me change the audio real quick to... Where is our boy? There we go. It's rating somewhere else.
Hell yeah.
Get ready to listen to this for 4 hours.
Highest song on my Spotify Wrapped.
Yup. Okay. Chapter 30, Fractures in White. Back already? Where's your brother? Is he dead? Cross desperately wished he could punch the smile off of Market-tail Gerson's face. He gripped the edge of the counter that stood between him and the shopkeeper in order to physically hold himself back from reaching for the purple knife at his belt. Attacking Gerson would only bring more enemies down on his head, even if what Gerson said was a bit too close to reality than Cross wanted to admit. Gerson's wicked smile fell an inch. Oh, don't expect a discount. Cross choked down a scream that Ink wasn't dead. He kept his anger and despair in check as he spoke through clenched teeth. I need those core parts. Gerson yawned, despite it only being about midday in Market-tail. I told you I'd call when I had the parts. I have nothing new for you. Cross had suspected as much, but he dared to think that maybe, just maybe, something would go their way for once. There was no point in wasting more time here, so he turned on his heel and stormed out. I hope you find him alive, Gerson called after him. He almost sounded genuine. Almost. That did not stop Cross from slamming the door shut behind him. No one ran into Cross as he stalked through Waterfall. In fact, the other monsters seemed to be actively swerving around him in order to make sure they stayed out of his way. Was the pressure in his eye sockets the glow of his magic, or did he want to cry? I think that's written wrong. Ink will be fine. He's too stubborn to die. Then where was he? Why wasn't he answering the gang's calls? If Ink was unconscious for this long without healing himself or receiving medical attention, he wasn't going to wake up. Cross did not recognize the ragged sound that forced its way out of his throat, soft but wretched. He wiped at his eye sockets and shuddered at the thought of the sight of the purple teardrops on his gloves. He brushed them away and quickened his pace. Moping would not help Ink or the gang back in Horrortail. Cross needed to avoid attention, leave the way he came, and get back to figuring out a new plan. The generators keeping the lights on in Horrortail's underground were supposed to last a few days, but with their luck, they would short out before then. That left the parts in something new, or the gang would have to attack an alternate universe to get what they needed. The thought bothered Cross more than it had before he realized his actions were all for naught, again. He bitterly tugged at the collar of his purple cape, wishing he had put the helmet on so he could hide his face. It wasn't his hood, and he still felt safer in his guard uniform at the moment, but at least then he could have something between him and the outside. Cross did not expect someone to grab his arm. He tensed, readying an attack, only to freeze when he saw a familiar face. A delighted Papyrus beamed down at him, his square-toothed smile wide with joy. Sans, it's you! I can't believe it's you! Before Cross could understand what was happening, he was pulled into a tight hug. This Papyrus was not wearing a constructed battle body, but actual guard armor with the Delta rune shining on its silver chestplate. His cape and scarf were purple. Cross's fears were confirmed by the Papyrus's next words. When Air attacked, I thought I lost you, but I knew you survived. I knew it! It felt like Cross's soul was dying in his chest all over again. The face that beamed down at him was just like his brother's, with the only major difference being the design of the Royal Guard uniform this Papyrus wore. But Cross had gone through too much to freeze up now. He shoved Papyrus away and trusting his instincts, did a check. Name, Papyrus. Nickname, Prize. Original universe, Underfell Distortion. Role, Bounty Hunter. Formerly the captain of the Royal Guard. Height, 7.2 feet. God damn! Get you a man like that! Damn! Level 55. I'm not reading that. Okay. Abilities, bone attacks, gaster blasters, blue magic, data inaccessible. Check. Ambitious and motivated. A dangerous combination. Undying never saw the knife in her back. Don't check for mercy. He has none. Prize noticed the check, and his smile dropped. Cross felt something click on his wrist, and jolted, but it was too late to avoid the magic nullifying cuff before it snapped close. He saw a glowing fragment on the deceptively soft-looking leather. Before he could react, his soul glowed, and he was yanked sideways by the wrist and his soul. The glowing fragment is a piece of a soul, Cross comprehended. He used gravity magic on it to move the cuff. Then he was in the ice-cold river. Cross was a good swimmer. He had to be when he spent half his life making sure his brother, ex-Azrael, and ex-Frisk did not accidentally drown in waterfall. Though, in hindsight, many of ex-Frisk's accidents had creepy implications. That's one way to say it. Jesus. Skill meant nothing when Cross was dragged underwater like the cuff on his wrist was an anchor. He held his breath as he was pulled downstream, already feeling a stinging sensation in his throat and nasal cavity. If Prize thought a little swim like this would drown him, he had a surprise coming. Fortunately, drowning Cross wasn't the goal. He was lifted upward just enough to get some air, his soul and the fragments embedded into the cuff glowing with blue magic. Cross coughed up a small bit of water, but he was already on high alert, scanning the area for any more problems. Prize had taken him to the isolated bench area by the flower puzzle. Cross wondered how it managed to remain so isolated until he noticed all the gray-white dust on the bench and the ground around it. He glared up at Prize. The sloshing water hid his movements as he used his free hand to reach for his knife. Prize crouched at the bank of the river. The cold grin looked out of place on a seemingly non-fell papyrus's face. He lacked the usual edges and sharp points many fell paps had and resembled Undertale's papyrus more than anything. Cross wondered if that was intentional. "Did you enjoy your swim?" Prize cooed. "Up yours," Cross coughed as water splashed up over his chin and into his mouth. Prize's smile lacked any warmth as he glared down at Cross. "So vulgar. No matter. I'm happy to inform you that you're under arrest. You left without going through the official channels the last time you were here. That's not allowed." Some small, quiet part of Cross almost wished that was true. "You're lying." Prize made an affronted noise, then gave up on his story as he shrugged lazily. "You caught me. I wanted to get money for your little healer." "Oops." He pretended to gasp as he covered his mouth with an armored hand. "That's supposed to be a secret. I'm sorry. You should be more careful when using him." Cross was going to murder Gerson. Prize flicked his hand, and Cross's head slammed into the ceiling of the cavern. He grunted, vision swimming as he was thrown back down into the water. Prize leaned over and lifted Cross's purple cape, humming to himself. "This should work." The purple cape was torn from Cross's shoulders. He briefly choked as the cloth pressed on his neck before the fabric ripped. The papyrus threw something on the inside of the purple cape, staining it with gray powder, and Cross realized it was monster dust. That done, the papyrus carelessly dropped the cloak near one of the bloodstains that littered the area. "I'd hate to see your brother's reaction to that one. Do you think he tried to heal the dust?" Prize laughed at his own bad joke. "Fortunately for you, I need you alive. Cross." Cross threw his knife. Prize dodged the attack and shoved him underwater in retaliation. "Fucking dumbass, dude! Why are you throwing your knife?" He lifted him up with gravity magic just long enough for Cross to gasp for air before shoving him down again. Cross thrashed and struggled to push himself to the surface, but his soul and the cuff were like stones piled on his arm and chest, holding him down. He's getting waterboarded. Like, Jesus Christ.
Oh my days.
His belief that Prize would continue monologuing and giving Cross the opportunity to strike again slowly diminished as the burning in his throat spread into his ribcage. Darkness flickered at the edges of his vision as he imagined water filling every open space it could find in his body, leaving him to drown. Prize did not want him dead, but he would leave Cross under the water until he was unconscious. The ones that hired the bounty hunter were most likely from the Omega timeline. Few others would dare to send out a capture order for one of Nightmare's gained. My god. This papyrus works for the Omega timeline! Jesus! Cross refused to go back there, so he fought. He struggled, despite it being useless. He refused to be at the mercy of Core and Dream ever again. The gang had already lost Nightmare, and Ink was missing. They were relying on Cross so they weren't trapped. He couldn't let the gang down, after he failed so many others. He had to break free. He had to get out. He couldn't breathe. A purple light shimmered. The blue magic released Cross's soul, and the soul fragments in the cuff. He pushed himself to the surface, coughing and spluttering, and saw his attacker on the shore. Prize's arms were limp at his sides, and his face was blank, all except his eye sockets, which had a purple haze. Cross knew what that was. He recognized it. His denials crumbled into horrified dust as he floated in the water, too shocked to even make his way to solid ground when he saw his soul. His soul was cracked, and inside the split, he could see... No. Cross could not use Overwrite. He was not capable. That was the whole reason he could not bring X-Taylor's friends back. He could not use Overwrite, and X-Kara was long gone. He should not even be able to use magic because of the nullifying cuff that was still on his wrist. Except it might not be his magic, and coding abilities like Overwrite might not be stopped by restraints like this. Prize blinked. The purple haze in his eyelights faded, and he looked around himself in confusion. How did I get here? He peered down at Cross and immediately adopted a kind-looking smile. Oh dear, are you alright? Do you require assistance? Cross let himself sink under the water. Prize made no move to lift him out despite being capable, but he did not attack him again either. He did not recognize Cross. His memory of Guard's identity were gone. Cross had not seen anything, or done anything, or felt anything. But Cross had been just as unaware back then, hadn't he? Cross did not bother to surface. Dude! He slashed open a portal and threw his body through, sending himself in a torrent of water into Toriel's garden in the castle. Asshole. His knees impacted the cobblestone path hard enough that pain shot up his legs. He barely noticed. He didn't care. Dust was sitting on the bench beneath the willow. His shoulders slumped as he stared at his hands. Its limp branches already looked lifeless. He threw himself back with a startled yelp as something small fell from his hand. A transport token? Had he not gone to Dusttail yet? Or had he just come back? It didn't matter. Hey, I don't have that many other clothes. Dust looked at Cross more carefully and forgot all about his wet pants and shoes. Cross? Pal? You okay? Cross did not meet his gaze. He simply sat where he appeared and summoned a blunt purple bone attack. Dust caught sight of his weapon. His eyelight shrank to nervous pinpricks as his hand twitched. Horror. Garden. Garden now. He slowly stepped forward with his hands raised into a peacemaking gesture. Cross, you're safe. We're in Horrortail. Horror is here and so is Killer. The others aren't, but the four of us, we're okay. We're okay. You're okay too. Just put that down, okay? Cross did not respond to his rapid panic reassurance. He knew his eye sockets were black. Tie me up. Keep me from using magic. Don't trust me. What? That made Dust falter. He halted in place, staring hopelessly, then lurched forward a step with his hands outstretched. Whether he meant to comfort Cross or maybe try to grab his weapon was unclear. Is it corruption? Cross, it'll be okay. You have time. Ink can help. We can talk about this. It was not corruption. It may just be worse than corruption. Cross did not try to explain. He had already wasted too much time. Don't trust me, he commanded again, but it sounded too much like a plea. As Dust froze indecisively, confusion and terror on his face, Cross struck himself in the head with the blunt end of the bone attack and blacked out. God damn!
Why is he always knocking himself out?
Don't trust me! Bam!
Bam!
Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Let's calm down. Let's take a breath. We don't need all this. This behavior.
Misbehavior.
This behavior. Oh, sorry, I had soda, so I had a burp. Okay.
That's your girl.
It felt like Ink was waking in a different location every time these days. He opened his eye sockets just enough to see white before he firmly closed them again. He was not back there. Back there did not have a bed, rough sheets, the sharp stench of sterilization, or monitors that beeped by his head. Ink opened his eye sockets again. Like he suspected, he was in a hospital room. Despite being in a hospital, he could not scan or detect the injuries or illnesses of those around him, meaning he had been cut off from his magic again. He did not need to look out of the window to remember he was in the Omega timeline. The monitor that tracked his soul beeped rapidly, and Ink stared at it in quiet despair, willing it to quiet down. It was a futile effort as his soul beat increased instead. Ink gave up on trying to avoid detection and visually scan the room. The white that surrounded him was disconcerting, but at least he wasn't in a lab. He was pretty sure it wasn't a lab. There was another hospital bed by the opposite wall. It was empty, its blankets pushed aside. Who had been there? Maybe Geno? Was he alright? Ink's satchel and scarf were on the table beside the other bed. He miserably looked at the bandages wrapped around him, primarily his left leg and ribs, and bitterly noted the cast on his right. He had to look and feel to catalog the damage because he could not do his usual scans. Bandages were wrapped around Ink's skull, and a medical patch was on his cheek, opposite his exposed black splotch. His left arm was still in a sling, a magic nullifying cuff was on his right wrist. It looked like a simple hospital bracelet, but Ink would struggle to get it off on his own. It must also be a code nullifying device like Top had. Exactly like Top had. Ink wondered if he used to work for the Omega timeline. Ink shakily took stock of his remaining injuries as best he could. He could barely find the energy to move his head, let alone try to sit up. Many of his bones were still broken, and he was likely on some type of painkiller. From what Ink could tell, the least healed fractures were in his legs and feet. He tried to be optimistic and hoped that was because they prioritized his skull, rib, and spinal injuries, and not so he would be able to talk but unable to run. Don't think like that. Maybe their healers aren't strong enough to use green magic on all of my injuries. Ink tried to convince himself. It wasn't working. Ink could finish the healing process once he got the cuff off, so unless the Omega Timeline's healers had purposely left him with cuts and broken limbs, their green magic capabilities were far weaker than his own. Being forcibly recruited by the Omega Timeline's medical personnel was far less frightening now than the possibility of them discovering he worked for Nightmare, and was the Protector. Despite everything, Ink sent a silent thanks to the healers and doctors that helped him. It was all he could do considering he doubted he would get the chance to thank them in person. They'd know Ink was awake by now. He hoped to see a medical doctor walk through the door. His hopes were shattered when the mechanism clicked and the door slid open. Hey again, Judge Felondyne greeted as she stepped through the door. She did not look angry, more tired than anything. Can we sit? Why ask when I don't have a choice? Ink's reply was short and to the point. Do what you want. The unnatural sense of calm that held him broke into smithereens when he saw who stepped in with Judge. Dr. Felgaster was recognizable on sight, his harsh red eyelights and cold detached expressions giving the impression of a scientist who had and would cast aside morals in favor of scientific advancement. Ink wanted to believe that he was being unfair and should not judge someone from a glance. But in this circumstance, he could do nothing less. Felgaster's alternate had experimented on Prism for months before he ultimately destroyed his soul. This version may also have been tempted to kidnap Prism from his multiverse. The fact that this Gaster potentially thought he could capture and contain a fully powered protector from another multiverse was a terrifying concept in and of itself. Keep your wits about you. Stay alert. If anything seems to be going wrong, cause a scene. Do not let him take you anywhere. The monitor reacted to Ink's fear and beeped anxiously as it detected his increased soul beat. Surely a doctor had noticed their patient's distress by now. The two council members ordered them not to interfere, or had Dr. Felgaster done that on his own? Judge Felondyne glanced at the machine, her brow creased in concern. Dr. Felgaster did not avert his gaze for a single moment. His calculating red eyelights focused purely on Ink. Greetings. I'm glad you are finally awake. You have already met my associate, I've been told. I am Dr. Felgaster. Judge Felondyne already knew. Dr. Felgaster likely did as well. Ink. Felgaster said the name like he was testing it out. His eyelights finally moved away from Ink's face to the items folded on the table. It is a pleasure to meet you. That's a beautiful scarf you have there. It's a nice material, too. The stains will wash right out if I'm not mistaken. Thank you, Ink said numbly. I hope they will. Dr. Fel nodded courteously. His red eyelights glowed. Such an interesting color. He knows. Judge elbowed Felgaster in the ribs hard enough that he winced. Stop scaring him, Doc. Now? She pulled a chair up beside Ink's bed and plopped into it. leaning forward with her forearms braced loosely over her knees. You understand that we have some questions. I mean, it's not every day that two senses pop out of a save point. Even in our multiverse, your appearance here was surprising. The only thing that you could have done to draw more attention is portal directly in here on your own. She looked too serious to be joking. Ink showed no reaction. Is Geno okay? He's fine, Judge assured him. The doc said he had to step out for a moment to answer some questions and get some tests done. Would he notice if I vanished? Would anyone? Would they even care? Or would they all turn a blind eye? Ink waited quietly and tried not to look at the IV in his arm too closely. If he started to fall unconscious due to a sedative, it would be too late for him to do anything about it, since he did not have access to his green magic. At least he had not woken up strapped to an experimentation table. That could be a good sign, or it could be a sign that they were treating him with kindness now in order to manipulate him later. Judge Felondyne was seated, but Dr. Felgaster remained standing. Gasters were usually tall, but he seemed even bigger as he loomed over Ink. Ink forced himself not to pull at the hospital bracelet around his wrist. The doctors definitely had been told to stay away. Otherwise, the unhealthy, stressed pulse of Ink's soul would have drawn them in by now. I don't know how familiar you are with the Omega timeline, but we don't only deal with multiversal threats, Judge began. We also try to take care of the individual people. Sounds corny, I know, and we don't always succeed, but damn do we try. The point is, someone beat you within an inch of your life. We haven't seen those kinds of wounds on monsters since they left nothing but dust behind. But we have seen them on human corpses. We know Nightmare did this to you. Of all the things Ink expected her to start with, that was not on the list. His meager hope that they did not know was brutally crushed underfoot as Dr. Felgaster spoke up, his voice as cold as his gaze. Do not think you can lie, Ark. We know who you are. Maybe this was all a horrible nightmare. Maybe Ink was still unconscious in the save screen, and not in the Mega Timeline at all. That would be a relief. If Ink could wake up now, that would be great. He could not wake up because he was already awake. The fears that had haunted Ink since the gang first implied that the Omega Timeline would harm him were slowly playing out in front of him. It felt like they were merely playing out, rather than Ink living through them. He was oddly detached from the circumstances he found himself in, as though he was no longer fully in his body, but instead was a dispassionate observer. Judge's expression shifted, and she glared at Felgaster. You're a dick. Stop it! She ignored his retaliating scowl. Yes! Yes!
My queen!
Get it! She ignored his retaliating scowl and faced Ink once more. We are not going to hurt you, okay? I don't know what Nightmare told you, but we're not going to lock you up and torture you. We can protect you. Protect me, Ink echoed dully, more out of obligation than any vested interest. Yes. Her voice kept its rough edge but sounded strangely kind. We know that you haven't felt safe enough to go home. Ink tried to remain impassive but knew his eyelids had shrunk to fearful pinpricks. Have you been spying on me? No, Judge denied. You were a starlight at Ccino's. You were found in critical condition. It took 7 healers to even partially heal what Nightmare did to you, Dr. Fell added, much less kindly. There is definitely an implied, so be more grateful, somewhere in there. A few missing pieces settled into place, and Ink finally fully understood what a starlight latte was code for. He already knew it was a request for help from someone who was in trouble and had nowhere else to go. However, it was probably most used by those escaping from abuse situations. Ink felt like the most obvious fool in the multiverse. It wasn't Nightmare. Except it was, in part, but only in part. And his injuries were not Nightmare's fault. Ink closed his eye sockets and took a breath. You want honesty? Fine. Will you actually listen to what I'm saying? Or are you just going to keep making demands of me? Judge leaned forward in her chair, holding his gaze. I'll listen. Ink noted that she did not say, will listen. Do you know what corruption is? Of course. Who doesn't? I didn't before I escaped my unfinished world. Corruption acts differently in stronger entities like outcodes. It does not kill them quickly, and instead lingers in their, don't say codes, psyche, slowly taking hold like a parasite. This can cause health issues, magic outbursts, memory loss, destructive tendencies, and even the complete loss of control. Both the council members showed no reaction to this information. Did they already know, or were they that good at hiding their thoughts and emotions? Nightmare has been corrupted for years, but he kept fighting it even though he did not consciously know it was there. He fought so hard to never hurt us. He was afraid of what he could do. Ink tried and failed to hide the tremor in his voice. He vanished recently, and when he came back, it wasn't him in control anymore. Nightmare is trapped inside as the corruption controls his body. Ink's fear for the gang's safety, Nightmare included, settled like ice water around his soul. Before he fell unconscious, Ink knew the corrupted had targeted Horrortail somehow. Ink did not feel a new charred mark on his bones, so the world must be alright. But what if it wasn't? Even if the gang was safe, Nightmare was not. How aware was he within the corruption? Had he seen what he had done to the gang? Ink did not know, and if the Omega Timeline continued to hold him here, he would not find out until Corrupted attacked. He was not about to share his fears with the two council members in front of him. Both Judge Fel Undyne and Dr. Fel Gaster remained quiet. They did not protest or try to poke holes in his claims. It was not enough for Ink to hold on to much hope that they believed him. Nightmare did not hurt me, Ink said firmly. His corruption did. Corrupted beat me bloody and broke my bones while making Killer convulse on the ground, cross and thus hallucinate, and Horror beg him not to kill me while apologizing for daring to try to stand up to him. Corrupted tortured them and Nightmare both. The Corrupted chipped at Nightmare's mind and his defenses until he buckled, and I couldn't do a damn thing to stop him. Tears pricked at the edges of Ink's eye sockets, but he did not let them fall. These were Omega Timeline Council members. It would be a gamble on how they would react to his weakness. I'm sorry that happened to you, Ink, Judge said lowly. You didn't deserve that. Ink noticed her wording. His stare was piercing. Did the gang? Judge went quiet. Her expression shifted, but Ink couldn't tell into what. Was she actually mulling it over? Before Ink could hope, Dr. Fel Gaster's face went blank and colder. Considering how many monsters they forced to watch as their families were murdered, Judge rose from her seat. Her hand latched on Fel Gaster's shoulder, squeezing slightly. Excuse us for a moment. She dragged him out into the hallway. Ink caught a glimpse of a guard outside before it swung shut. You could still hear the council members through the closed door. You know this is not the time, Judge hissed. He already has no reason to trust us. Antagonizing him will get us nowhere. He considers the gang victims, Dr. Fel Gaster snarled back. The depth of the anger in his voice made the machine by Ink's head beep loudly from a mixture of indignation and stress. Thankfully, they did not seem to notice. Less thankfully, the doctors also didn't notice, or were ordered to pretend not to. He doesn't know any better, Gaster, Judge said loudly. He's clearly been manipulated. I'm amazed he's even willing to talk to us about Corrupted. I bet Corrupted conveniently showed up whenever Nightmare lost control. Stars, I want to deck this Corrupted in his smug, goopy face. But Ink doesn't need to be yelled at more. We need to be patient. She kept speaking, but her voice was lost in the dull buzzing that clouded Ink's mind. She did not believe him at all. Dr. Fel Gaster certainly didn't. They were so convinced that Nightmare was evil that they believed he manipulated Ink in such a way by blaming his crueler traits and moments on the corruption. Nightmare did not even know about the corruption until Cross told him. Killer and Cross were right. The Omega Timeline only wanted to use Ink for information, not help him out of the goodness of their souls. They did not care that Nightmare was in trouble and needed help. Ink choked down a scream, then reconsidered because maybe if he made a scene, someone would try to assist him. Though if he started screaming, Fel Gaster would likely ward off any well-meaning people by saying Ink was in pain or hysterical or something. He had definitely pulled some strings to keep the doctors and nurses from interfering because Ink's vitals were a mess of anxiety and terror. Ink pressed his good hand over his mouth so he would not make a sound. The hospital gown he wore was white, just like the walls that kept him trapped. His coat was gone, Cross's bone attack with them. Had his brown communicator bracelet been found yet? His scarf was out of reach since he could not move himself from the bed. They actually had healed him, just enough so that he could answer questions, but couldn't run, hadn't they? He lowered his good arm, noting the wires attached to his bones and soul. There was a potential way out, but Ink could not do it. He promised himself, Horror, Cross, and Prism, and there was also Geno to consider. Ink still needed his codes, and Geno was stuck in the Mega Timeline unless he found a way to stabilize himself again. Ink's remaining options were horribly limited. Could he pretend to be open to the Mega Timeline's manipulations? Would Felgaster take him as soon as he could? Or would he wait to see if he could manipulate Ink in other ways before he resorted to destroying his soul? I'm gonna die here. I'm gonna die here, and then everyone I love will die too. Ink's breathing sharpened and his vision swayed. He lifted his arm again and pulled at the hospital bracelet with his teeth. It did not give way. The Omega Timeline knew what it was doing and had taken every precaution to prevent him from using his magic or codes. Corrupted had told the others that Ink would be handed over to the Mega Timeline. Ink had foolishly believed he would be able to clear up that misconception. Instead, he was so injured that he instinctively fled. If word got back to the gang that Ark had been captured by the Omega Timeline, would they work with Corrupted to get him back? What if the word somehow reached Error? I still need to stabilize and look at Geno's codes, but I can't access them right now, or shield them. If the scientists found out that they could dissect Error's codes by looking at Geno... Oh, stars. Why did I think sending him here was a good idea? Stop. Don't jump to the worst case scenario. Ink forced himself to breathe. They think they can manipulate you. Use that to your advantage. Play it smart. Pretend that they can sway you for now. You can do this. Ink looked down at his soul, which floated pitifully in front of his chest. He wondered what the Omega Timeline thought about the scars and the golden lines that seemed to hold it together. They would not be able to see that the lines were actually binary codes. If Prism's core frisk was any comparison, even they would fail to see it. However, they may be able to decipher it, given time. No one can learn about the digital sphere's existence. Ink looked at the door and back at his soul. Hesitantly, he placed his free hand upon it, fingers curling around the scarred white surface. Hide, he commanded, begged, as he tried to force the thought to become an action. You can't be seen. Just hide. Please, you need to be safe. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the golden binary shimmered and slowly sank into his soul. As it rippled and merged, the gold appeared to fill in the cracks in the white like molten metal. The sensation burned so badly that Ink could not muffle a scream. The door slammed open and Judge Fell Undying charged at him. She lunged the last few meters and grabbed his wrist, holding on. Judge's grip was strong, but not so strong that it was painful. Her eye was round with something like panic. Let go. The command was given so firmly that Ink instinctively obeyed. Judge shifted her hold on his wrist and sat on the edge of his bed. He looked down at his soul and was relieved to see the golden binary codes were no longer in sight. Dr. Felgaster hung by the door. His red eyelights remained sharp and calculating as he glowered at Ink. What did you just do? Get out, Judge interrupted. Dr. Felgaster's expression finally changed from that cold glare he wore. Are you trying to order me? Get out, Judge repeated. You're not helping. Go. The glower she received might just be more vitriol than the ones Ink got. To his surprise, Felgaster actually obeyed. Ink caught a glimpse of Fel Alphys hovering outside the door before the door clicked shut. He kept a wary eye on it. It would not surprise him if the scientist returned with a horde of guards to drag him straight to the lab. Look, Judge began, drawing Ink's attention to her. I don't know what the gang told you about us, but we don't make a habit of hurting people that need help. At least, I like to think I don't. I am here because Edge warned me that his father wanted to pay you a visit. Seems I showed up just in time. I can't say I'm unconditionally on your side, but I will not hurt you, and I'll make damn sure that Gaster doesn't either. Why? Ink asked flatly. Because even if it wasn't your boss that hurt you, you were still in enough trouble that you went to Chino's for a place to stay. I mean, she's not wrong. She's not wrong there.
Literally.
She's not wrong. I'm a nightmare defender, but also like, she's not wrong. She's not wrong. Oh, she kind of ate with that. You right. Judge released his wrist and let her hands fall into her lap. I can't just believe what you said at face value, but I'm willing to give it a chance. I want to know whose ass I need to kick. It was in direct contrast to what she said to Dr. Felgaster, but that could be the point. She might be pretending to be on the scientist's side and agree with him, or she could be pretending to be on Ink's side to gain his trust. So which was the lie, and which was the truth? What did she truly think? Ink did not know, but if Judge was invested in keeping him out of Felgaster's lab, he had to play along. If he played along, leash they had around his neck could gradually lengthen until he could hopefully make a break for it. I feel like it was obvious from this scene, like, what she was trying to do. She literally, like, yelled at Gaster, was like, get the fuck out! Get out!
Get out!
I really don't think, Ink, that you got anything to worry about.
Literally.
I think you're okay.
We love Judge Felondine.
Yeah. Is there a way I can call Chino so he isn't worried about me? Ink asked. The gang knew Ink had been staying in the cat cafe. Maybe Guard would go to check it out and Chino would pass on the message if Cross was in any condition to travel. They're all okay. They have to be. It was a flimsy plan, but Ink's communicator would not work until he regained his magic. The hospital bracelet might come off, but he had a sinking feeling that there might be something magic nullifying in the cast on his leg too. His captors would never give him something sharp enough to cut through the cast in the bracelet. That was what they were, Ink comprehended. Captors. No matter how nice they acted, they were keeping him here against his will. And to think that Ink had been worried about being exposed as a healer. He had so many more, bigger problems now than that. Then again, there's still time for me to be shown around so I can see all the displaced people who lost their homes because of the gain or error, he thought bitterly. I've been out in the multiverse. I already know. There's a call center by the lobby, Judge Felondine offered. You can look up his number. The sound of muffled voices became something much louder as they both looked to the door. There was a soft rattle, then a loud crunching noise as the locked door was forced open. Judge jumped up with her weapon in her hand and Ink flinched, squeezing his eye sockets shut. Nothing happened, so he tentatively opened them again to see Judge standing defensively between him and the door. She lowered her spear as a familiar winged form filled the doorway. Oh dear, Aster commented. It seems like I underestimated my own strength. Aster released the doorknob, and Ink saw the metal handle was crumbled. A guard tried to grab Aster's shoulder, but he shrugged his hand off, and supposedly on accident, hit him in the face with one of his wings. He gave a rather insincere, sorry about that, when the guard swore. As Ink's mind tried and failed to process what he was seeing, Aster strode into the room with an amused Geno and a scowling Dr. Felgaster at his heels. Aster went right up to Ink and gently hugged him. I'm sorry it took so long to get here. I swear every guard in the Mega Timeline insisted on asking where I was going. Aster's hug remained careful. His wings were still, but Ink could feel him quivering slightly. I am glad you are right. Ink was still trying to understand how and why Aster was here. He wasn't S.H.I.E.L.D., except his S.H.I.E.L.D. outfit was in his satchel, as was his gray echo flower. Ink's gaze locked on the Geno, who gave a winged smile. Sorry I stepped out. The doctors were giving me the runaround until I bumped into your dadster. I get the whole family priority thing, but you'd think they made an exception in a place like this. Ink stared blankly at him, too stressed and confused to understand what was happening. You are not his father, Aster, Dr. Fell accused through gritted teeth. I might have told the doctors and guards a minor fib in order to get in, Aster said flippantly. It's not a fib, it's real! It's real! You're his father, you're his dad, you're his dad, you're his dad. Goodness, and there are so many guards for a hospital. They're also dedicated as well. I'm sure you can understand my little exaggeration, since Ink didn't have any biological family here in the Mega Timeline. Ink flinched at the sound of his real name. One of Aster's hands gently brushed the side of his skull. The touch was too tender for Aster to be angry. Why wasn't he angry? He knew, didn't he? He had to know. I was so excited to hear that you were here that I simply had to tell my coworkers. Of course, Stretch told Blue as well, and Alphys told Undying. They would all love to meet you here once you were up for it. Oh, he's such a catty bitch! Yes! Tell everyone, Aster! Yes! Oh, he is so catty. Yes! Aster's smile remained in place as he looked at Felgaster. His eye sockets went black, like the empty space within them was made of the abyss. I know you won't run off without saying hello. He needs to stay in the hospital, Felgaster said tightly. Aster did not stop smiling. Excellent! I'm more than happy to stay with him. Felgaster's eyelids glowed ominously. You understand that we can't just let him go. Judge Felondine's eyes narrowed. Ink stared straight ahead. He said nothing as the monitor that tracked his soul beeped faster. Aster's voice was just as cold as Gaster's. I was there too. I saw the footage. You are interested in Ark. Leave him be, or I will call Core right now and tell them about all of your projects. The words made no sense to Judge and Geno if their faces were any indicator. Both had the wary looks of someone who was trying not to appear suspicious or confused, but Gaster's cold expression twitched and the monitor by Ink's head picked up to a frantic pace. The silence stretched on, and Ink repressed a shiver at the glower on Aster's face. He had never seen Aster look like this. He was always so gentle and kind. Now he finally looked angry, like he wanted to tear whatever was in front of him apart with teeth and claws. Maybe Ink was wrong. Maybe Aster was furious with him. He anxiously tried to bend his fingers so he could maybe pull at the hospital bracelet, but they were too bandaged up. It didn't matter. There was probably another nullifying cuff under Ink's leg cast anyway. What is he talking about? Judge Undying asked quietly. Nothing. Gaster snapped. We're leaving. I will speak with you about your conduct later, Aster. Oh, thank you for giving me time off. I look forward to our discussion. Aster spoke warmly, but Ink caught the hint of sarcasm in his voice. The two council members walked out. Well, Judge walked. Gaster kind of stormed out and shut the damaged door with excessive force. Aster waited until it was shut before he sat heavily in a chair and put his face in his hands. Dad disappointment, dude. Dude, I hated whenever my dad did that. Oh my god, I would be like, stop, don't look at me like that.
I'm sorry, please.
Head in hands, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Don't argue in front of the child. He doesn't need this. Stop. This is not nice. This is not nice. Ink shrank in on himself, eyeing Aster nervously, while Geno awkwardly shuffled over to the empty bed and plopped down on it. He remained seated upright with his feet planted on the floor. That is so funny. Geno's just like, what the fuck is happening, dude? What is happening?
You're just rolling with it, though. That's the thing. You just go
He's
along
like,
with whatever
I'm dedicating my life to this random fucking kid now. Like, I am. Like, I love him. He's my brother.
trauma bond.
Trauma bonds. Actually, trauma bonds are usually between the, like, abuser and the abused. So that would be Nightmare and Ink, actually. They have a trauma bond.
Oh my days.
So,
Okay.
just so you're
All right.
correct.
Fucking Encyclopedia Brown.
Just so you know.
Okay, I know.
I can't believe they actually tricked me into leaving the room. At Ink's puzzled look, Geno elaborated. They insisted you were going to be transferred someplace and wouldn't tell me where, which was suspicious as hell. I tried to explain Aster was on his way, but they kept running me in circles and saying stuff about patient confidentiality. And he tried to hand down the left side of his face. In hindsight, you probably would have been transferred and set with edgy Gaster. What kind of dystopian hell is this? Finally! Yes! My god! Someone says it. Ink couldn't bear to look at him. I didn't know it would be so bad. I'm sorry I sent you here. You did no such thing, Geno scoffed. But if either of you could explain what the hell is happening, that would be a big help. Ink's voice caught in his throat. Oh, I just yelled at my boss and threatened to go above his head and expose his secret plans to the leader of the Omega Timeline, Aster said with fake levity. He inhaled, exhaled, and slowly looked at Ink. Though I suppose your boss would treat you even more badly if he did such a thing, wouldn't he? Bro, why would you say that? Why would you say that?
That's crazy.
So unprompted. What was the need? What was the need for that?
What was the reason?
So, though I guess your boss would, like, beat the shit out of you a lot more, you know, if, like, something happened to you. Let's
Literally.
not... Can we not say that? Like, please. Ink flinched. I would too. Nightmare didn't do this to me. It was corrupted. Nightmare's corruption took control of him, and he needs help. But I'm stuck here, and tears welled up in Ink's eye sockets. I'm sorry. Aster's face fell. He sat on the edge of Ink's hospital bed and cupped his cheeks with his hands, careful to avoid the bandages on his face. Oh shit, Ink. I'm not upset with you. Ink couldn't handle how genuinely gentle his voice was. You know, right? I'm S.H.I.E.L.D. and ARC. I work for Nightmare. I lied to you about my name and where I came from. I put that together when Geno called me, Aster said, and Ink flinched again even though he did not look angry. Did you only pretend to be my friend? Ink tearfully shook his head. Did Nightmare order you to use me for information? Ink shook his head again, but forced himself to elaborate. He almost tricked me into it because I was too stupid to realize why he was okay with me talking to you. I'm sorry. Do not call yourself that, and you do not need to apologize. Aster's gaze flicked to the scarf in a way as his entire body tensed with stress. Ink, are you the protector? Right. Aster worked in the Mega Timeline's labs with Phil Gaster. If he knew, Dr. Phil Gaster absolutely did. Ink shuddered and buried his face in Aster's chest. Aster held him as close as he could without disturbing his injuries, rubbing circles on his back. Keep blocking it, Aster whispered. It took Ink a moment to understand what he was saying. Ah, of course there were cameras in here. Was Aster's lab partner, Alphys, helping to keep others from viewing the footage? Ink hoped she would not get into trouble. Aster was already in trouble because of him. Ink took a shuddering breath and tried to pull away, but Aster refused to release him. Eventually, Ink stopped struggling and huddled against him instead. Aster, you need to stop this, he pleaded. Gaster's your boss. He can fire you, or exile you, or have you arrested and killed for treason. That does not happen in the Mega Timeline, by the way. I am not afraid of Felgaster, Aster snarled. His wings flared with aggression, and I will not put my job over your safety, and refuse to stand by and let him hurt you. Ink did not understand what was happening. Aster should be furious at Ink, not at his own boss. After all, Ink lied to him. He worked for an enemy of the Mega Timeline, in many people's eyes, the multiverse itself. Instead, Aster went out of his way to shield him from Dr. Felgaster, going as far as recruiting— oh my god. Sorry. Almost projectile vomited. Going as far as recruiting his lab partners to protect Ink and defying a powerful council member to his face. He was hugging Ink and soothing him instead of yelling at him and leaving him to rot like so many others would just because he was a member of Nightmare's gang. It was too much. Ink covered his eye sockets with a good hand, trying to hide his face as his body shuddered so badly that his aching bones rattled. As he did so, he pulled at the IVs and wires attached to his arm, shifting his body, and felt a slight pinch in his upper leg. Why aren't you angry with me? Shh, Ink, shh. Aster held him close and rubbed circles on his back. I could never be angry with you. Certainly not for something like that. Ink was starting to understand how Cross struggled to accept the forgiveness of others. Ink's own guilt was nowhere near to the extent of Cross's, but Aster's forgiveness and lack of anger felt undeserved. Yet it also gave Ink a sense of hope, even if he feared what Aster's side may do to him in retaliation. Ink wiped away his tears and sat back, even though he really wanted nothing more. He really wanted nothing more than to hide in Aster's arm. Yeah, I can read. I'm doing such a great job. If only for a moment. Can I convince you to leave before you're hurt? No, Aster said simply. Don't worry about me. I will take care of myself, and I am going to help you as much as possible. Ink shivered. He felt cold. Does Corfisk really not know what's going on? Aster reached up and fiddled with the blue crystal pendant on his necklace, spinning it between his fingers. I cannot see them as someone who will stand by while scientists do something so questionable. Ink hoped he was right, though that didn't explain why they hadn't interfered here. Then again, Core had already proven they weren't aware of everything when they failed to recognize S.H.I.E.L.D. and Guard. Ink was honestly surprised they weren't present now after all the interest they previously shown in S.H.I.E.L.D. and ARC. Another chill went through Ink's body, and he slumped down on the hospital bed. He knew better than to simply believe the air in the room was cold and started checking his symptoms. He felt cold and a little feverish, with sweat beading on his brow and tremors throughout his body. It could be due to his injuries and the emotional shock of everything that had happened, or it could be something in the IV. The doctors were not on Ink's side. If they were, they would have refused to let Felgaster interrogate him, or they would have at least come in when Ink started showing signs of distress. Ink felt dizzy. I'm sorry, but can you see what they're giving me? I feel cold. Aster rose from his seat. Please stay with him, Geno. He swept out of the room, leaving Ink with Geno. The pixels remained over his eye socket, and he still wore his own clothes, unlike Ink. Ink noticed that the slash across Geno's chest remained. Sorry I fell for their distraction, Ink, Geno began without prompting. Aster was worried when I accidentally called him, but I didn't realize just how much danger you were in. It's fine. Like you said, they might have tried to transfer me anyway. You didn't know. You were thrown into this without warning. It was a lot to be exposed to after nothing but the save screen for ages. Plus, Geno had also been an unwilling witness to Ink's little breakdown. Sorry. Please don't apologize, Geno said hastily. Really? I know you haven't seen a mirror, but you're not looking so hot. In fact, he looked chilled to the bone. The pun was awful, but Ink cracked a smile anyways. Ugh, I hate puns.
I love puns.
Ugh. Geno's grin faded and he cocked his head to the side. What's this council's problem with you anyway? I work for Nightmare, the guardian of negativity, Ink confessed. He's their enemy. Geno must not understand the significance of that. Maybe he did know, and he just didn't care. But you're a healer. You don't target them. Ink was unable to keep the bitterness out of his voice. Welcome to the multiverse. Most don't care. You care, Geno retorted. A lot, from what I can tell. So, are these guys keeping you as a hostage now or something? Because I don't like that. Thanks, Geno. I don't like that at all. That's really bad.
I don't like that.
I don't think I like that. I don't think I'm a fan of that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, wait. I need to get water.
You and I'm waiting. How do we feel, chat? How do we feel, chat?
It's about to explode. Sorry.
Oh dear.
Dude, the amount of people that keep leaving and like joining is like actually crazy because we'll jump from like 4 viewers to 30. Rosa,
Yeah.
did you put on your Vaseline? I didn't! Is it obvious? Oh my god.
They can hear the Sahara Desert of your lips right now. That's
Dude.
insane.
How do they know? And the fact that they realize and they remember, like, did you put on your Vaseline? No, I didn't.
Yeah, wait, how did they remember?
Oh my god. Maybe I do have fans. Jesus Christ.
Holy shit.
Thank you. Thank you, Fresh Sands.
A sentence we would never have expected to say. Thank you, Fresh Hands.
Don't tell Doodler.
I'm calling you out right now.
Fresh
Rosa,
Sands, the
Kool-Aid,
only one that
Jafar.
remembers my Vaseline. We can hear the crustiness. I just thought you didn't because you didn't mention it. Fresh Sands in your dorm room. I'm putting on my Vaseline, guys, I swear. I have it on now.
I can hear the click.
See, it's better. It's better. It's better.
I don't think they can actually hear it.
They can't hear my popping?
No, I mean like the crustiness of your lips.
Oh, well. Maybe it's better now.
You can't hear that. You can't hear that, but
Vaseline ASMR. Okay. Ink had not even considered that possibility. He expected to be a prisoner, albeit one in a gilded cage, if the Mega Timeline truly did intend to try to coerce him to their side before they turned to more violent methods. The idea of his imprisonment being used to hurt or draw in the game made him feel even worse. If they try that, it'll be the last thing they do. Nightmare and Error are already corrupted. Error nearly tore Cross to shreds for attacking me. Long story short, Cross was controlled, and Nightmare was already interested in locating this place through me. Corrupted is even more so. They are not going to get better without my help. He could only reach up with one hand, and he pressed it to his forehead, breathing sharp. Everything is relying on me to heal them and fix everything, because if I don't, the multiverse is screwed. Oh, that's a lot. That's rough, buddy.
oh, that's not.
Oh,
That's
that's not. In a sense that.
Oh.
Oh, that's a lot. Geno fiddled with his scarf like Dust sometimes did. What can I do to help? Here, I gotta adjust my mic. Oh my god. Adjust! Ink couldn't stop his tremors. You believe me? Yes. Geno's eye socket lowered slightly, giving him a look that was eerily predatory. Oh, and his eyelight flashed red. I can't say that this Omega timeline is giving me the best first impression. They aren't that bad, Ink argued lamely. Corfrisk isn't, at least. I think. They've helped so many that have been displaced because of the conflicts. Are you defending the ones that want to hold you hostage? Geno's mouth twisted into a thin line. You're worrying me, Ink. I tend to have that effect on people. Ink tried to joke. Geno saw through it. Yeah, you're not gonna convince me that this is okay. You're the one who saved me, so pardon me if I'm a little bit biased. I didn't think they'd be like this, Ink mumbled. I never would have offered the Omega timeline as a place for you if I knew. Geno seemed to process that and gave an ill-fitted laugh. Wait, so the ones that are holding someone against his will may threaten their own workers, withhold medical treatment, and potentially have shady projects are supposed to be a sanctuary. Well, that's just great. Ink winced. Corrupted still cannot be allowed to reach this place. Negativity already overpowers positivity by too much. The loss of the Omega timeline will doom us, and I don't want Aster, Edge, Red, and everyone else who lives here to die. Geno made a face. I'm starting to think about the days where I only had a couple of timelines to worry about with more fondness. So let me ask again, what can I do to help? Ink bit his tongue to stop another apology and cautiously considered the offer. What he really needed was to see Geno's codes and get out of the Omega timeline. The cuff on his wrist, with a second likely hidden elsewhere, prevented the first need, and Aster and Geno could not set him free unless they smuggled him out through the doors area. So that wasn't about to happen, and Ink was stuck for now. How could he keep himself safe then? As Ink considered many of the other times he felt threatened by those around him, a possible answer came to his mind. It was non-specific and not well thought out, but an idea that just might become something more. They expect you to be a murderous member of Nightmare's gang and react to them with violence. They'll be eager to treat such a monster accordingly, so don't try to hide who you are. Just act like yourself. It would be easier said than done, since Ink was terrified that they'd drop all pretenses and drag him to a lab if he looked at one of them the wrong way. Geno was still waiting for Ink's answer. He did not try to press him into responding, but a crease appeared on his brow the longer Ink remained silent. Ink weighed his next words, knowing that Alphys or someone else might be observing. I meant to go to you intentionally. I need to stabilize and look at your codes. To heal errors, he kept to himself. But I can't right now. I'll try to stick around you then, Geno offered. Like I said, I'm not that impressed with the customer service here. Ink's smile was watery. The chill in his bones remained. He grabbed the hospital bracelet with his teeth again and pulled at it. This time, it broke. Ink still did not feel the rush of his magic and coding abilities. They remained trapped. Ink looked at the cast on his leg and his shoulders slumped. He hoped he was right about the other nullifier being there, because otherwise they had injected something into him and healed the bone over it. Ink repressed a repulsed shudder. Geno watched Ink with concern, appearing puzzled when he broke the bracelet. He pushed himself up to his feet and picked at his own bracelet. Can you use magic right now? Ink asked. Geno nodded and summoned a small bone that floated above his head. It's been a while, but yes. He thought Ink was referring to his overall magic ability now that he was out of the save screen. Ink did not correct him. The fact that Geno did not have a magic nullifier while Ink did was yet another bad sign. He tried to keep his calm, but he swore he felt colder with each passing second. Maybe it wasn't every second. He could not tell because his gloves were gone, along with most of his outfit and gear. There was no clock that he could see. Corrupted had torn away so much that Nightmare had given him. Nightmare included. Ugh! Such a sad line. Ink shut his eye socket and clenched his teeth. Are you in pain? Geno asked anxiously. He looked to the door and made a frustrated sound. Do doctors not exist here or what? They've been ordered to stay away, probably, Ink said faintly. He sucked in a sharp breath as his leg began to sting. The painkillers must be wearing off. The fact that he could heal himself if not for the nullifying agent just made it feel even more malicious. Geno called the doctor something uncomplimentary. Did he call him a slur? And walked over to Ink's side of the room.
Bitch.
You fucking bitch! He carefully adjusted his blankets before he tentatively patted his good hand. Anything I can do? Maybe go yell at a doctor? Ink mutely shook his head. They'll already be watching you. Don't give them more reasons. Don't fucking leave his side! No!
Literally.
Geno glowered darkly. Great. He looked around at the corners of the room like he expected to see cameras and adjusted his scarf. Then did it again. He did it once more as though it was a nervous tic, but Ink immediately grew suspicious. He squinted at the red fabric and saw the black lines move within the collar near Geno's neck. Oh my god. Yes! Ink kept his expression neutral. His snakes were both there, hidden in Geno's scarf. They hadn't been taken or killed. They were also made from Ink's magic. Could he control them enough to activate his bracelet and call the game? He would have to be careful or they'd be destroyed. Bye, Fresh.
Bye-bye.
Aster returned with a doctor. He was a cat-like monster who often worked with gassers on the core in many alternate universes. Unlike many of his counterparts, he did not become a goner. That was most evident in his orange coloring, though his most vibrant color was in his eyes, which were the bright purple of a perseverance soul. He did not introduce himself and grumbled about Ink low pain tolerance as he checked him over. Ink hadn't said anything about pain. He was just cold and anxious about what was in his IV. He was beginning to suspect it was some type of sedative that was starting to take effect. The only reason the desire to tear out the IV in his arm was not acted upon was that he did not want the doctor to try to put it back in. Aster's expression closed off. He took out his phone and dialed a contact. Stretch, can you send me a list of hospitals? I need to request a transfer. He doesn't have the proper paperwork. The doctor dismissed. Aster's expression was unironically bone-chilling. You care for refugees who have fled the destroyer all the time. I myself arrived and was taken to a hospital with only the clothes on my back. Try again. The doctor grumbled and pulled a machine to the side, yanking a couple of the wires taut, and Ink flinched. Quit whining. You deserve worse. Aster grabbed the doctor's hand and physically pulled him away from Ink. Leave. The doctor turned on him, looking more like a furious beast than a medical professional. Do you know what he is? He is a healer, Aster snapped. And a patient. Your treatment of him is unacceptable. Now leave or I will make you. Ooh! Throw hands! Throw hands! Throw hands! Ink was surprised that Aster did not throw the doctor out the door. He should have. He should have.
Literally! Oh my god.
He blinked lethargically as Aster ordered Geno to help him remove the IV from Ink's arm. Aster continued speaking, but the words weren't making much sense to Ink. He might not be talking to Ink anyway since he still had his phone out. Aster held it to his ear and abruptly relaxed. It seems Counselor Judge Undying already agreed to transfer him to Golden Ruin Medical. That meant nothing to Ink, but Aster seemed relieved. That was a good thing because Ink wasn't able to protect him or Geno right now. He could feel himself drifting away as whatever sedative in his IV took hold of him. Geno's muffled voice was the last thing he heard before unconsciousness claimed him once more. Please take me with you, Geno requested, only partly joking and partly sarcastic. This place is giving me the creeps. I really do like how accurate it is with sedatives. If you didn't know, sedatives don't immediately, hit. When Ink moved that one time, it probably started to really get to him. It takes a while for sedatives to hit, so it was really interesting that that whole conversation was able to happen. You could watch Ink slowly get more and more tired. It goes to show how much Buddy knows about medical stuff. It's really interesting. Ink was transferred to Golden Ruin Medical Center while he was unconscious. Aster stayed with him for the trip while Geno followed soon after, brushing off several attempts to make him stay at Haven Meadow Medical Center or discuss resident possibilities for him within the Omega timeline. If Aster did not know how the hospital treated Ink, he might think the doctors were all meeting when they inquired about Geno's determination to offer to run tests. With that knowledge, all Aster could think was that it seemed like they were trying to lure Geno away so he would leave Ink again. Aster was not familiar with the specific sands, but he could see the unnerved terseness to Geno's smile as he laminated how he wanted to stay with Healer and how they were together when he was trapped, and Healer was the only one I have in this place. He had the feeling that Geno was overstating their link, but did not call him out on it. Why would he, when Geno's stubbornness may have kept Ink from vanishing before anyone knew he was in the Omega timeline? Aster tried not to think too hard about what-ifs. Truthfully, he did not want to think about the dark depths of the Omega timeline at all. He had no choice but to think about it if he wanted to keep Ink safe. The doctors of Golden Ruin Medical Center proved to be an immediate improvement over the previous hospital staff. Head Dr. Torio listened to Aster's account of what happened in Haven Meadow and immediately demanded the name of the doctors that had been in charge of Ink's care. Aster had been certain that she was going to light something on fire when she checked Ink's arm to see multiple injection sites where the IV had failed to be properly inserted. Dr. Torio kept her temper in check. That can cause an infection, by the way, these fuckers. She remained warm and calm as she informed Aster that the issue would be dealt with. Aster did not know where this particular caretaker Torio was in the power structure of the Mega Timelines Hospital, but suspected it was someplace high enough that Haven Meadow had something to fear. And if not, they should still fear.
Cool.
Ink had barely been settled in his new hospital room when Aster's phone vibrated. He did not need to look at the caller ID to know who it was. Aster expected this call. He did not bother to excuse himself to take it because he was staying put at Ink's side right now. He indicated for Geno to keep quiet and answered the phone. "Hello, Doctor. You lied about Blue." Indeed, Aster had lied that Blue knew Ark was here. Stretch had confirmed that he'd been conveniently unable to reach his brother or Dream, but Aster also knew it was only a matter of time until the stars returned to the Mega Timeline. The fact that Dr. Phil Gaster had been unsettled enough to check if the star sands as new gave Aster a small amount of satisfaction. He just wished that Phil Gaster had also put together that his actions were probably wrong, since he was so worried about the stars and Core finding out. It worried Aster that Core Frisk had not already appeared and interfered themselves. How much else had been successfully hidden from them, and how? "Did I know?" Aster commented. "My mistake. What do you think you're doing, Aster?" Aster could not stop a nervous flutter of his wings at the harsh growl of Dr. Phil Gaster's voice. He kept his own tone curt. "Helping a friend. You're out of line. You know what Ark is. He needs to be contained." Aster's soul twisted with something that could be disgust or loathing as he heard Ink described as what? He could not decide whether it was worse for that to be in reference to his membership in Nightmare's gang or his role as protector. Ink was not a what. He was a person. "You have no right to imprison him." "I did not say imprison," Phil Gaster dismissed. "I said contained. He cannot be allowed to walk free." "What has Ark done to harm anyone?" Aster demanded. "Has he attacked anyone? Killed? The only account I've heard is that he helped Horror after he was stabbed. He did not go on the offense and only acted in defense of himself and his teammates because he is a healer." Aster said nothing about Ink's protector role. If Dr. Phil Gaster somehow did not know, Aster was not about to accidentally confirm his suspicions. He works for Nightmare. According to the reports that the Council itself released, it was in exchange for the safety of the monsters in the AUs that Nightmare's gang targeted. My point still stands. Aster's hand clenched around his phone so tightly the edges pressed into the joints of his fingers. "If I did not know any better, I'd swear you were trying to make Ink your enemy. He has already been turned against us. Nightmare got his claws into him and twisted him so that he already believes we are the enemy." "Oh yes, and you're doing so much now to correct that notion," Aster said sarcastically. "Surely threatening Ink, implying that he will be harmed and holding him against his will, shall make him change his mind about the Omega Timeline." "No leniency can be given to a member of Nightmare's gang, Aster," Felgaster rejected. "They have no mercy." Aster could not keep the incredulity out of his voice. "Do I need to say this again? He is a healer. His LV is 1. He has not attacked anyone and only fought in self-defense." Aster remembered how Ink received the green flag, linked to kindness and healing magic at Aftertail Neutral, only to shove it into his bag and look around fearfully, like he was afraid to be caught with it. Aster had found it odd back then. Now he fully understood Ink's unease. So many out in the multiverse saw kindness as a weakness. Either that or they saw it as a trick and reacted aggressively, often violently, in retaliation. It seemed that for all his brilliance, Dr. Felgaster could not see the truth staring him in the face. He cannot be trusted, only contained. Be grateful that the other council members are unaware of his true identity. Otherwise, they would be calling for his blood. Aster closed his eye sockets and exhaled slowly. "You kept Ink restrained in the hospital. You interrogated him while he was barely conscious. You kept doctors from providing assistance, except for one that despised the gang so much that they would take it out on a patient. You had the same doctor drug the patient for easy transport. Now you're threatening him in the place of the gang members that have actually caused Insurmountable damage, yet you're trying to tell me you're doing it for good reasons. I am keeping the Omega timeline safe. I cannot believe you. Aster's mouth twisted in disgust. Congratulations, Doctor. You're proving that every single thing that Nightmare and the gang wore in ink about the Omega timeline is in fact right. He hung up on Dr. Felgaster without another word. To his credit, he did not try to call Aster back. Unfortunately for his superior, Aster was not content to sit by with the lingering threats. He took a breath and spoke quietly enough that Geno did not hear him. Corfrisk, could you come here, please? No monochrome form appeared. Aster tried again. Corfrisk, I need to speak with you. It's urgent. Corfrisk? Geno heard him that time. He raised his head and his puzzled expression became something gaunter as his eyelights faded out. Aster called out once more for Corfrisk, but Corfrisk didn't appear. He stopped calling as a sense of dread lay heavy in his soul. Geno sat silently in the corner, fingers pulling at the edge of his scarf. He opened his mouth, closed it, and looked down at his feet. It seemed he did not know what to say. That was all right. Aster did not really know either. But he did know one thing. If Aster had to stand between Ink and the Mega Timeline to keep him safe, he'd do it without hesitation. The consequences be damned. Yeah, that was so fun! Wasn't that such a happy chapter?
Guys, aren't we so... Damn. Aren't we so happy?
That was such a happy chapter. I love whimsical and fun. Who the fuck just... Oh my god. Go look at the group icon in Sonic.
Yeah, I already did.
I have not. What is this? Why? Why does it look like that?
You don't like it? It's a costume.
No, I really don't like it. I don't like it at all. Why did Mills send this? Why does no one say any? Only Void said something. Sorry, guys. Rose Gain moment.
Rose Gang moment.
This is what happens in the adult-only group chat. Mill fucking sends a Sonic EX Halloween costume that looks awful and changes it to be the fucking profile picture. This is awful. Beetle, it's your turn. It's your turn, Beetle.
I put out my candle. I just realized it's just been burning this whole time. I have to save it.
It's your turn, Beetle. Dude, for some reason that chapter took so much out of me. Was it really that long of a chapter?
It was.
It didn't feel like it.
I feel like it wasn't as long. It wasn't as long as Prism's chapter, but it was still like a long chapter, and you haven't done it. You haven't like read in a while.
True. True. Fire hazard. Truth acorn. Your turn.
We're reading. My turn. Chapter 31. Pay the price.
I'm gonna get water.
Slay. Oh, that's... What a lovely title. We're starting off real strong. The staff members of Golden Rune Medical Center were much friendlier and more helpful than the ones at Haven Meadows, but Ink was careful not to be too drawn in by their apparent kindness. Okay, maybe he was being a little bit relieved, and grateful when Dr. Toriel grilled the staff of Haven Meadows, tore through any and all attempts to dissuade her, uncovered that someone had, in fact, purposely given Ink a powerful sedative only used for intensive surgery, and informed him that she would personally take care of it. Ink thought of the various machines that had been attached to him in the other hospital, and wondered if one of them had been rigged to administer the drug if he was struggled too much. This new hospital room was nicer as well, with its soft blue walls and lack of alleged IV mishaps, but Ink was still here against his will. It put a bit of a damper on his mood when Dr. Toriel returned to speak with him about the treatment. He was in a condition where green magic was offered to help speed along the process of healing. Speed along, but not fully mend. Only a few of the Omega Timeline's healers would be strong enough to completely heal his injuries, and they tended to conserve their energy for the most critical patients. A magic nullifying hospital band was placed on Ink's right wrist for identification and to keep him from hurting himself more with any magic outbursts. The doctors assured him, unlike with the previous doctors, Ink was a little more inclined to believe these ones. It did not bring him much comfort considering the magic code and code nullifying cuff that that had to whoa. It did not bring him much comfort considering the magic and code nullifying cuff that had to have been created by the Omega Timelines lab itself was definitely still under his leg cast. I've been informed of your role as healer along with the unique circumstances of your stay here. Dr. Toriel's tone remained professional and neutral, giving no indication about how she felt about treating a member of Nightmare's gang. But her countenance seemed too soft for her to be upset about it. If anything, she seemed more upset at how Ark was being treated. Allow me to say this now. If you will not be forced to work for the medical department, and I will not allow anyone to harm or take you. I know there are nasty rumors about our recruitment methods, but we do not coerce healers into our employment. You are not expected to join us to pay off any debts for your care. She seemed to have no intention of making him do anything, but Ink doubted others' greed. The implied threats hanging over Ink haunted him, but the desperate plan he had concocted was still a possibility. The Omega Timeline was so determined to not see the gang as anything but a threat that Ink wanted to prove them wrong. If they were intent on putting on a potential facade of moral superiority, and weren't going to throw him in a cell or a lab just yet, then Ink was going to use the opportunity to poke holes in their mental model of their enemies. The easiest way for Ink to do that? Be himself. Thank you, Dr. Toriel, Ink said. His voice maintained its naturally quiet volume, and she had to lean in slightly to hear him. I'm sorry, but could you tell me about my injuries again? The doctors at the other hospital would have brushed him off or maybe sedated him to shut him up. Dr. Toriel merely nodded and began listing Ink's remaining injuries as she checked his vitals. The injuries Ink had sustained were ones that usually involved a high-speed collision instead of a physical attack. Most of the cracks and cuts in his skull and torso had been healed. This included piecing his ribs and sternum back together and popping his patella back into place. He was lucky to have avoided any debilitating spinal injuries.
You cut out. Ink's left, whatever the fuck that is where you need to start reading. Beetle.
Ink's left.
Okay.
Yes?
I didn't know if you were still gone.
Ink's left tracheal.
Do not ask me. Pisiform, but not F. No. Pisiform, ulna, radius, and 5 of his phalanges were all broken. His humerus was so cracked, though not to the same Is it not
extent
phalanges?
What did you just say?
Is it not phalanges?
Phalanges.
Shut up.
It's phalanges? Where's the other G?
Shut up.
Rosa.
Shut up. Just read.
And 5 of his phalanges were all broken. His humerus was also cracked, though not to the same extent as his lower arm and wrist. Both his fibulas and tibias had several bad breaks, and his talus had nearly been crushed. They would have to be careful when healing it, or it could affect his mobility. As she went through the injuries, Dr. Toriel informed him she was most worried about the femoral shaft fracture in his left leg. Dr. Toriel was patiently kind as she gave her explanation, and she answered Ink's questions honestly, but his discomfort grew as more and more medical data was added to his growing file. He wanted to view the test as benign, but worried his blood was also sent to Felgaster's lab, not that the scientists would be able to do anything with it. Prism had briefly explained that any attempts to experiment with a protector of creation's blood or magic wouldn't amount to anything. Abilities like theirs could not be replicated, implanted in others, infused in objects, or combined with other magic. In other words, any attempt to make more protectors of the creation would anticlimatically make the magic or blood evaporate. Prism guessed it was a failsafe to try to
question, lore question.
Yeah?
So I do wonder, and like, let's say like Buddy's idea of like different multiverses.
Mm-hmm.
Does ship kits not be able to exist because you can't clone? Like because PJ is like a mixture of like error in Ink's stuff, right? Like their magic. But if you're saying you can't make another creation or like another clone of him in a way,
using his blood.
would he not be
Magic.
able to? Like his blood is
Guess
magic.
not.
His blood is
Maybe
also
his
ink.
they just don't exist. What if they don't exist?
So when buddies like circle the multiverses, if you're following their laws and their rules, Ink might not be able to have any ship kids.
Literally.
Just something
Good.
interesting. So if you're following the rules of like Buddy's multiverse rules, I don't think Ink can have kids in any multiverse. So just something to keep in mind. He's infertile.
Somebody clip that. Oh my god, I'm putting that in my quotes.
No
Hold on.
impreg. No impreg.
He's infertile.
PJ just built different.
Oh my god.
He's infertile. Can't men be infertile too? Like
Yeah,
they can't.
They can.
So that's not that crazy, guys.
No,
guys.
it's just that it's just you. It's just that you just shouted it out like that. He's infertile.
Ink is infertile.
Me when I know how to spell? Oh my god.
Maybe if he's making it, he can. Like, great shout out, but I don't know. I like the headcanon that all of Buddy's inks are just infertile now. That's my headcanon. He
What
goes-
a lovely.
He goes to the
headcanon you
doctor.
just
He's
said.
like, I want to have a kid one day, and they're just like, you're infertile, and he's like,
No.
what? What?
Actually, you can't.
He's like,
I
no.
feel like he would be too busy to be having kids.
Maybe
know,
that's why
like
he's
being a-
infertile.
Oh my god, it's like in Warrior Cats. Medicine cats can't have kids. They
But
can,
They're too busy.
but legally in the Warrior Cat like rule book,
It's been
they
clipped?
can't
No! It's clipped! Wait, how do I see clips? How do I do that?
I don't know.
How do you see
I don't
clips on
know.
YouTube?
I don't know.
How do you do that?
Does it not have?
Cooling Rosa funny
I
moments.
think Cooling Rosa funny moments. I think clips are like for like people to just record like funny moments.
Yeah, but
for-
is there a
from their
way that I
stream.
can see it? Like Twitch?
I don't know. Rosa, just start streaming on Twitch.
No! I don't want to. I like my
Agree,
YouTube
agree.
audience. I like my YouTube audience.
We also like the YouTube audience.
I
Love
don't
the
know.
YouTube
No, Ftfo Inc. is supposed to be fully an adult. He's supposed to be Buddy said that he's physically probably like 19 to 20, but mentally like he's just behind because he doesn't know fucking anything. But he is an adult. He can't age or grow though.
Yeah. Mentally, he can age and grow though. Learning and all that.
The Rosa funny
Funny.
moments? When did that happen?
What?
There's a Rosa funny moments video?
There is?
Where?
Pause stream. Where?
Guys, what are we talking about here? You can send fan art to Beetle through their Tumblr. Guys, there's a Rosa funny moment. Oh, you started. I thought you said star, and I was like really confused. Why did you
Huh?
delete the funny memes? Didn't
Huh?
you make a funny moments video? I did, but that was me, Beetle, and KJ. Different vibe.
Oh.
He's infertile. I'm gonna figure
Guys,
out how
you
to.
send it to my Tumblr. You drop my Tumblr while Rosa figures something out.
What the fuck does that mean?
The Tumblr thing. I'm not. No, I lied. The moment thing. Funny moments.
How to see clips on YouTube?
How to see clips on YouTube. That's my Tumblr, you guys. You guys can follow that. I also have TikTok. Ballad Beetle on TikTok. There you go. There you go. But yeah, if you have any fan art of me and or my characters,
My
I love saying that
characters.
you can send it through my Tumblr. Ask. Beep beep. I should make a tag.
You have
But I don't feel
4
like it.
different videos you're making for the Rosa fan base. 2 videos in
Hooray.
animatic and fan art. It's not the same without KJ. That's crazy! I'm so excited for that. I hope we see it soon. Okay, continue fucking reading, Beetle. Don't get distracted. Why the fuck would you get distracted like that?
Ma'am. I'm sorry.
I said one thing and you couldn't handle it.
Anyway, where was I? Prism guessed it was a failsafe to try to discourage scientists from causing further imbalances and creating more problems by experimenting on the multiverse's last chance to be fixed. It didn't protect Prism. Inc. thought about how Prism had been experimented on by scientists, including Dr. Aster, for several months and tried not to think about it more. Even with Aster and Geno's vigilant support, Inc. wasn't optimistic about his safety. Dr. Toriel made a final note on his file and smiled warmly at Inc. If you are ever interested in learning more in this field, we have multiple programs to further train healers like yourself. You do? Ink's elated smile died quickly. The option to learn more about green magic was no option for him. He did not belong here, and he was not staying willingly. Is it possible for a healer to help me? Just for my leg, at least? I'd like to be able to walk. I will get you a healer as soon as possible. However, green magic has been difficult as of late, Toriel noted. She inclined her head towards Ink's right leg, which was still in its cast. We can try to heal your femoral shaft fracture. For now, I'm afraid you will have to stay on site and will be confined to a wheelchair. You may go out to the nearby gardens and park if you would like. Ink had been bitterly sardonic about being wheeled through a park or something. He wondered whose idea it was to try to make him feel guilty about the gang's actions. Then he tried to pass it off as a bitter, paranoid joke, but realized that the Omega timeline might just try that with him. The joke was on that person because Ink already felt awful about it. He wasn't about to think the gang were evil. The truth was so much more complicated than that. If more people could see it instead of threatening and attacking each other, maybe none of them would be in this mess. Thank you, Ink said anyway. It was not Dr. Toriel's fault that he was being kept here, so it would be rude to be upset with her for it. Ink looked at Geno, who appeared to be engrossed in the magazine he was reading instead of Ink, and the doctor conversation. And the doctors, plural. Appearances could be deceiving, and Ink had been around enough senses to see Geno was on guard. It made sense since he might be Ink's only line of defense for the moment. Aster had stepped out to meet with someone, though he had not told Ink who. He also mentioned errands. Ink had the feeling he was gathering support and making sure that Ink could not vanish without a lot of people noticing. Aster had said he had informed Blue, but if Prism's own Blue and Dream were any comparison, all the guards in the Omega timeline would be unable to keep him and Dream away once they found out Ark was here. The Star Sanses might not know then. They likely weren't. The Star Sanses might not know then. Tone? Oh my god. They likely weren't in the Omega timeline at all currently. Should I try to contact the stars if I can figure out a way? How? They would help me. The certainty of that thought surprised Ink. Dream and Blue barely knew Ark. They weren't even friends at this point. Yet Ink could not picture them standing back and twiddling their thumbs when they heard Ark was captured. Ink was not.
You cut out.
No, I didn't cut out. I was just seeing who joined. Hi, Doodler. Ink was not hopeful that he would be released or rescued anytime soon, but it was comforting to think that Dream and Blue would care if he disappeared. Stretch and Alphys also might care, but Ink did not want to drag Aster's lab partners, one of whom was Blue's brother, further into this mess. The fear that the Omega timeline would declare them traitors and harm them brought a near-constant chill to his bones. At least the cold was not due to the sedative this time. And Rosa says, actually, they wouldn't hurt anyone in the Omega timeline. I need to call Ccino. That's not right. I need to call Chino. And Fluffy Tail, Ink mentioned. I was staying above his cafe. We have a call center. It's right by the lobby. Toriel visually scanned Geno before she found his health satisfactory. Take him there, would you not? Sure, Geno said. Got any special instructions for me? Toriel gave him a quick rundown of what to watch out for. She mentioned they would have a guide so they would not get lost, and Ink immediately knew that it was going to be someone assigned to keep an eye on him. Under Dr. Toriel's watchful eye, Geno helped Ink get changed and settled into the provided wheelchair. It was a lot less awkward than Ink thought it would be, maybe because he preferred Geno to be the Omega Timeline's doctors. Or maybe because he trusted that Geno would not stab him with anything. Ink was allowed to wear his brown scarf and hood along with his loose brown pants. His two snakes had secretly taken refuge in his scarf once more, curled patiently by his neck. His usual black shirt had long sleeves, making it currently unwearable unless he cut it up. But Aster had apparently brought along a black tank top for him. The tank top fit well enough and the collar was high enough that it lay under the collar of his scarf, but it obviously did not cover his arms, one of which was in a sling. Ink tried not to notice his distress when the black marks on his right arms remained visible. He must not have done a very good job because Dr. Toriel stepped out before returning with a pair of long, fingerless brown gloves. Geno helped Ink put the right glove on and it almost went up to his shoulder, leaving only a small bit of his humerus exposed. Ink could not help but trust Dr. Toriel a little bit more after that one. His left foot was healed enough for him to have a shoe on it, but they had not gotten any for him. It must have slipped Aster's mind. Considering the amount of stress Aster must be under because of him, Ink did not blame him. He had his shield boots in his bag, but he was not about to mention that. He wasn't sure if his final identity had been discovered yet, and if it wasn't, he needed to make sure a guard was not exposed to Cross. You know, something I've noticed, because I've read Spilled Ink, but I find it how interesting, like, how Buddy has... Like, with Ink, there's always an issue about his identity.
Yeah.
Like, who he is as a person, or if he is a person. And I just find that so interesting, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
He's definitely always grappling with, like, who he is outside of the role that is placed upon him. And his own, being his own person. Which I think is really good, because in my Ink commentary video, which is where a lot of my viewers came from, where I talked about him possibly being autistic and autistically coded. It's really interesting to have a character be written like this, where a lot of autistic people tend to struggle with their own identity as well. And people tend to forget that Ink also kind of has that problem in his canon, where he is so attached to his job that he doesn't really have a form of identity outside of that. And people don't try to play with that besides making him not care. When I really don't think all the time he would be like that. So it really is interesting that Buddy takes that aspect of him and makes it prevalent in all of their fics. It's wonderful. They're so good.
They're so good. They're so good. When he was told about his lack of available footwear, Ink shrugged. It's fine. I don't really like shoes anyway. He shifted his body and grimaced at his sling before he looked back at Geno. Are you sure you shouldn't be resting? Geno grasped the wheelchair, gave it an experimental push. Nah, I've been doing nothing but watch for years. This is fine with me. Ink glanced towards the door and saw that Dr. Toriel was talking to someone who was just out of his line of sight. So how fast do you think this can go? Geno shrugged. I was never much of a runner, but who knows? Why? I might want to make a nuisance of myself, Ink told him cheerfully. Geno appeared torn between intrigue and alarm. Are you going to make them chase you around town or something? Maybe, since I can't climb things right now. Ink glared at his leg, which he could easily heal if not for the cuff that he suspected was beneath his cast. I might push some buttons to test how they respond. Ink was banking on the Omega Timeline's desire to stick to a manipulative approach instead of a more openly violent, torturous, and soul-directed one. Geno did not know about that last particular detail. He still did not truly understand how dangerous the Omega Timeline could be for them both, though Ink had dropped some vague hints that he should be wary. The last thing they needed was for anyone to become interested in Geno. Ink desperately hoped that he did not have to find that out the hard way. The door opened a little further, and Ink was not surprised to see a Sans step through. His appearance was the same as many of the usual Sanses, except for the holes in his skull and the color of his eyelight, which all of which glowed with what appeared to be colored flames. Ink noted the colors and did not need codes to identify the presence of 6 human souls.
Yeah.
Anyway, this Sans must have absorbed the ones from his world.
It's
The
my
Omega
son!
Timeline-
My son! My trans little boy!
The Sans must have absorbed the ones from his world. The Omega timeline really did think Ink was a threat for them if they went through the effort of sending in a monster powered by 6 human souls to keep him in check. Ink felt a new binary code brand itself on its bones, accompanied by a dull pressure like something was trying to force its way out of his marrow and repressed a grimace. Oh my god. Heya, the Sans greeted. My name's Color. I'm supposed to show you around. Hi. Ink could not muster up a smile, resulting in a rather piercing and severe look at his eyelids as his eyelights flashed. You're also here to grab me if I try to run, right? Color gave him a neutral look. Are you gonna run? Are you going to try to run? Try. My leg is broken, so probably not, Ink said sardonically. Maybe I'll try to hop, though. Or Geno could shove me down a hill. Surely that'll work. The corners of Geno's Color's... One of them. The corners of Color's...
One of them smiled.
One of them smiled. Too many Sanses. The corner of Color's mouth twitched. Let's hop to it, then. Geno snorted. That was basic puns 101. I won't apologize. Killer. What? Killer's not even here. Color drawled.
Color killer.
Color killer. It's on my mind. His eyelights flashed constantly between colors, mostly yellow and deep blue. Just so you know, we couldn't get into your satchel. I need to follow protocol and ask, do you have any weapons? They aren't allowed to be carried in the Omega timeline without explicit permission. Color had absolutely been told Ink's identity and affiliation, but maybe not his role, either of his roles. Member of Nightmare's gang or no, it would look rather bad on the Omega timeline's part if they were exposed to be holding a healer that was also the protector from the Legends prisoner. Ink had the feeling his satchel would be confiscated if he did not respond. He also wasn't in the mood for the Omega Timeline Council's confidentiality games. I'm saying that wrong, probably. I'm a healer. I only have medical supplies, clothes, and an echo flower in there. Color had decently looked awkward. Noted. They headed down to the main lobby. Geno pushed Ink's wheelchair while Color stayed close by. It turned out that the call center was meant for video calls. Despite the privacy the individual light blue cubicles provided, it felt more invasive than a simple phone call because Ink was sure his face was being recorded, which could be the point. It also meant that Ccino answered. That when Ccino answered, he saw Ink's bandaged face, arm in a sling, and the other wrapped injuries on his upper body. He also got a clear view of the handles the wheelchair in. Ink realized how bad it looked and shyly waved with his good hand. Hi? Hello, Ink. Do you need assistance? Ccino asked. His voice had an odd inflection like a buzzing static and garbage noise. Ink resisted the instinct to peer at Color, who was standing off to the side. I'm alive. I'm sorry I didn't come back last night. He did not mean for it to be a question, but he was not sure when he last stayed at Ccino's. Was it last night? Or was it the night before? Or maybe even the night before that? Ink was not sure how long he had been knocked unconscious. He thought about the gang again and gripped the arm of his wheelchair with his good hand so he would not claw at the cast on his right leg. Gino's gaze was piercing. Don't be afraid. I am speaking in primeval wingdings. Oh, that explains it. Ink hadn't even realized. He'd also completely forgotten Ccino's plan. He never thought he'd have to actually use it. Okay, I can understand you. Thank you for answering the phone. Of course. I promised, didn't I? This time, Ccino spoke a little louder, allowing his voice to carry in the small cubicle. Ink heard Color sigh quietly. Aw, jeez. What's got Ccino upset? I recognize that voice. He speaks wingdings, but not primeval. You can tell him that Menace got into my core laboratory specialty Americano espresso machine. That's
and
I need
wow.
to replace it.
Are they
Core
gay?
laboratory
Are they gay?
Americano espresso machine. Why does everybody have to be gay with you, Miss Cooling?
Am I wrong though? You can tell him that Menace got in my core laboratory. I recognize that voice. Oh jeez, what got Ccino upset? Stop flirting!
He's probably a regular.
They're gay.
A lot of people go to Ccino's.
They make out in the back.
Oh my god. So
Stop being homophobic, Beetle. Let me live my
I'm
life.
not being homophobic. I'm not being homophobic. I'm just saying that not everything has to be gay and thrown in your face. I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, let's not jump to
Clip that,
conclusions.
clip that, clip that, clip, clip.
Remember here that usually it's Rosa being the homophobic one.
What the fuck? All my content is gay ass bitches. My favorite strip in the world is between two gay motherfuckers. Dream and Ink,
#real.
which is what I'm making my presentation for presentation night about, by the way, tomorrow.
Oh,
I'll talk to you about that after stream.
Oh yeah, lock in. Where am I? So Color was another regular at Chino's then. Exactly.
His boyfriend.
Okay. Just like Red, Edge, and Judge fell Undyne. What was Chino's relationship with the Omega timeline in general? He did not hand Arc over, but council members and timeline residents visited his cafe. Was he a neutral area? If so, how far would his offer of safety extend? Ink intended to try to use his snakes to activate his communicator when he could, but he had a safe. Ink intended to try to use his snakes to activate his communicator when he could, but if he had a guard, that might not happen for a while. Was Chino really willing to help him like this? He was so thrown off by the possibilities that he only got half the message. Is Menace okay? And he destroyed what? Off to the side, Color snorted. That explains it. Chino remained visibly warm and smiling, as if a little distracted and tense. Menace is fine. He destroyed an expensive machine, allegedly. Again, do you need assistance? Ink understood that though Color did not know Prometheal wingdings, he had just shown his assigned guard that he did. He tried not to let his unease get to him. I see. I hope you can get a replacement. And yes, I'm in a hospital in the Omega timeline right now. I'm not sure how long I'll be staying here. Chino's brow furrowed. Are they not letting you heal yourself? It seemed that Midnight had been even worse off than Ink fully understood when he healed him. So much for hiding that he was capable of healing his own injuries from Chino. Ink scratched at the cast on his leg. Yes, my leg and arm are still broken. That's why I'm in a wheelchair. No running through the grassy fields for me. His awkward laugh faded into a more...
Stop
so
it.
evil.
No. My baby, my precious baby boy, what happened to you?
They fucking got him. Bro. No. Chino's smile faded. For the first time, Ink saw anger in his gentle face. It worried him enough that he pushed ahead. Chino's helping me out. Oh, Ink realized that he hadn't introduced Geno. Chino. Oh, that's gonna be fun. This is Geno. Geno leaned into view of the camera. Hey. And waved. Hey. I see you have your scarf, Chino replied.
They're
I'm sorry
flirting
for your
too.
loss. Everyone's flirting. Everyone's gay and everyone's flirting.
Let me live my life, okay?
I'm agreeing! Oh, don't make me mad, Rosa. Geno's brown furrowed. Geno's brown. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too? You're either a very good actor or you truly cannot understand me. No offense, but good. Do you feel safe with Geno, Ink? Yes, Geno's, Ink said before he could really think about it. Geno's agreed to help me for a while. He also kept the previous hospital from throwing out my stuff or transferring me to a lab. They're being investigated. Ink is at a different site now. Color stepped into view and smiled. Ink did his best not to lean away from him. Hey, Chino. Menace is causing trouble again, huh? Chino did not seem put off by the abrupt interruption. Ah, Color. Despite the circumstances, it's good to see you. Not Ccino. Chino placed his hand on the top edge of the screen and leaned forward a bit. Ah, you're speaking in that old wingdings language again, Chino? Again? Ink's first thought was to wonder who else Chino had protected from the Omega timeline. Chino blinked in apparent puzzlement. Oh, I apologize. Ink has been staying in my establishment when he'd been released from the hospital. When will he be... Ink had been staying in my establishment. When will he be released from the hospital? Color shrugged. We aren't sure. Ink purposely did not look at the same look at the small video in the corner that showed his face. Chino maintained his calm smile. Ink is one of my starlights. Please inform me when he's released. The language was almost possessive. It did not make Ink think of nightmare or error, though. Chino sounded too protective to be alarming. Ink was not sure what Chino would do against the Omega timeline, but Color did not laugh off this statement. He appeared solemn. Maybe he understood Chino was serious. Between Fresh, Aster, Geno, and now Chino, the Omega timeline was making a lot of people unhappy. Ink found that rather depressing for a place that was considered to be the multiverse's last safe haven. Fortunately for them, Ink wasn't inclined to hold a grudge. He'd rather force them to see they weren't as right as they thought they were. After a few more questions, and a request for Ink to check in, Chino ended the call. Ink could not leave the call center fast enough, which Geno seemed to sense as he pushed Ink out of the cubicle with haste. He wondered if he would be able to check like Chino asked. Check in, like Chino asked. It would depend on whether Ink was allowed to call anyone. He knew any glimpses of freedom and choice made here were mere illusions that could quickly fall apart, revealing how his new cage truly was. Arizona break. Ha! Arizona break.
Okay, so KJ's gonna join so he can read Killer.
Really?
Yeah, he is.
Holy shit!
That's what I'm thinking.
Finally! Oh my goodness.
He's saying wait for me,
It's
so
time.
we're taking a small intermission. Could you send him the link of chapter 31?
Yep.
Thank you, because I can't get out of this real quick. So he's gonna read Killer, which is perfect timing, because Killer is literally in the next scene.
It's literally... It's time.
This is gonna be very interesting to see how he's gonna do with me reading. Well, it's you reading the
It's me reading.
other voices and the description, and then we're gonna be like, KJ, go! KJ, read your line.
Your turn. Do it! Say the... Do the roar.
Do the right. Do the right. Do the right.
Do the roar.
Do the right.
That movie is so funny. Holy shit, he's
Hi,
real!
KJ.
Yippee! Yippee!
Remember what I DM'd you earlier?
Yeah, but I'm doing the canonical.
No, you're not. I'm gonna kick you out if you do that.
No, I just
What's
wonder
the
one
canonical? Do the
scene.
canonical voice for...
I'll do them when it's my scene.
No, KJ, no,
I'll do it as my scene. It's what the fans are used to, and it's what they'll see.
no. Nobody likes it.
Everyone likes it. That's why it's the fan in voice. Don't disrespect CJ.
I didn't say
CJ,
anything
you're
about
watching.
CJ.
CJ, if you're watching,
Why are you trying to get me into beef?
I'm not trying to get you. You got yourself.
Oh,
I
KJ,
don't.
you're
I don't
quiet.
like when Killer sounds like this, guys. I don't think it's really that crazy. I don't like it when.
me, you know, like
There's a reason I casted KJ and like not someone with a scratchy voice.
What page do I go to?
down.
You go
I sent you
down
the
until
page.
it says Killer landed
Down.
in the hallway. You're not narrating. You're just gonna read Killer. I hope you understand that.
You're just
Wait,
reading
can you
his voice
screen
lines.
share instead.
Oh my
No,
God.
I'm streaming.
Bro, Beetle, help!
Beetle, you do
No,
it.
I'm reading on my phone.
Oh,
Oh, okay, wait. Okay.
You found it?
I'm in. I just have to find Killer now. I have to read all this, bro?
you said
No,
no.
you just have to
You just have to read his
like-
lines.
No, but where's his lines?
Down.
It'll be like Killer shoved the card at the scientist. Here, that's his line in the dialogue piece. You don't have to
You
do
wanted
this.
to
You're
do
the one
it.
that wanted to do this.
No, I just want to do one line, and I can't find it.
You have one line. It's literally at the bottom. Killer landed in the hallway,
Oh,
3
at the
rooms.
bottom.
Killer landed in the hallway 3 rooms over from his actual target in Horrortail Castle. Go 3 paragraphs down. Killer shoved the card at the scientist. Here.
It's not. Is it at the bottom or 3 paragraphs?
It's in the middle, kind of.
What is a paragraph?
KJ,
I
you're
got-
making people
I
leave the
found-
stream.
I found.
You're gonna have to wait until Beetle gets there. Because Beetle's narrating.
Wait.
Hashtag- Real.
Are you literally gonna say one line and then leave?
No, I'll say a few. Okay, so we're at
2 lines.
the
I'm at
hallway.
Killer landed.
Killer
Yeah,
landed in the
yeah, we're-
hallway.
Okay.
Are we ready?
All right, I'm ready.
I'm not
Walking,
reading. It's
guys.
just you two. So have fun with this. I'm gonna sit back and watch.
Okay.
Killer landed in a hallway 3 rooms over from his actual target in Horrortail's castle. His feet impacted the ground hard enough that his legs buckled and his knees smacked into the hard stone floor. Fortunately, the cart he brought with him rattled dangerously, but did not tip over, and spilled contents across the floor. Killer muffled a swear and pushed himself up, hobbling forward with the cart as he persisted through the stinging in his legs. The transport token that was clutched in his hand was cracked, providing a visible indication that he had run out of uses. Killer stuffed the useless emblem into his pocket anyway and pushed the cart along. Several monsters in lab coats met him near the door. Killer shoved the cart at the scientists.
Here.
No! You're not doing that voice! If you do that voice, you're getting kicked! Do your regular killer voice!
I can't fucking
Please,
This is
just
how
do.
I want to do it. Please respect me.
Stop!
I'm narrating. Me and Beetle are narrating. You're not narrating.
Oh,
I need
my
you to-
goodness.
I need
Here.
you to. No!
Here.
Stop! Just do the Dog Day voice. That's better than this.
I'm Dog Day and I'm just so
Here.
sad.
My card, and it's just so here.
Wait, is this that one scene? Okay, wait, Beetle, is that this one scene with Nightmare and the bone coming up?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is this chapter?
Yes.
Yes.
You're not allowed to read that unless you actually take it seriously, KJ.
Okay, I'll take. I'm taking
Please.
you seriously. You're
Please
not
lock
taking
in,
me
bro.
seriously.
You need to
And
no,
that's
like
just-
seriously, KJ. You
and
need to
that's
lock
just-
in for that because it's actually an amazing scene. So
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. They took them with a brief thank you and raced back towards the core. Killer watched him go in silence and turned away, pulling his hood up over his head. A couple more monsters raced past him, with a few taking the extra step to give him a wide berth. One of them slowed down, stopping beside him. Killer raised his head, ready to snap at the gawking monster. Instead, he froze in place, staring blankly up at his brother. His breathing quickened and his soul flickered in front of his chest. Papyrus went. Shut the. Papyrus.
the fuck up.
I'm reading and I'm acting.
I'm muting him. I'm not doing this anymore.
No, no, no.
I told you to behave.
I was adding SFX.
You know
That's part
what?
of the
He
story.
was acting. His breathing.
Do not
quickened so
add
quick-
any SFX, dude.
Ah, okay, fine.
Just do
Never
your
said
lines.
that. You never said that.
Rose, you gotta be more specific,
Yeah,
clearly.
I'm not getting the details.
Killer raised his head, ready to snap at the gawking monster. Instead, he froze in place, staring blankly up at his brother. His breathing quickened and his soul flickered in front of his chest. Papyrus went still, then slowly raised his hands like there was not a slash mark leaking blood and dust across his neck. It's Paprika. 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 Killer blinked, and the empty stare of his brother's gentle face shifted into the equally gentle, if a bit more ragged, face of Paprika. There was no blood on his scarf, chest, or face. No dust either. Killer rubbed his hands on his jacket, and the snide remark he tried to make remained trapped in his throat. He wanted to blame his trip back to something new for his jumpiness, but he knew that he wasn't the whole truth. In spite of the time that had passed in Streamtail, Nightmare's aura still affected the gang. At least it affected Killer. He did not want to consider the possibility that he was the only one still suffering from the hallucinations the boss's attack had brought. He also did not want to consider that he might be hallucinating because he had just been back there. Not Ink's back there, his own. And to think Killer had once scoffed at Ink's aversion to his original world. Paprika made no comment about Killer's reaction. That was probably for the best. The others are still in Cross's accommodations. There has been no change.
Thanks.
Killer said gruffly. He did not flee down the hall. Killer did not run from a fight. He did his best to compose himself as he walked.
I hate my life. I hate my life. I hate my life. I hate my life.
He said gruffly. It says gruffly.
I hate my life. I hate my life. I hate my life.
I feel targeted. I hate my life. Keep reading.
You need to lock in, KJ.
I'm immersed in the
He
story.
did not. He did his best. He did his best to compose himself as he walked, not fled. Beneath him, the dim lighting powered by the generator and the hastily placed oil lamps. It had been decided that they should be hung around the castle while they still had the light in case they eventually didn't. and that eventually was looking more and more likely. Nightmare was corrupted, Ink was injured and missing, Cross had returned, warned Dust not to trust him, and knocked himself out with a bone attack like a stars-damned idiot. Dust and Horror wanted Cross to wake up so he could explain himself. Killer wanted Cross to wake up so he could punch him for scarring them all. It had taken an hour for Dust to calm down enough to explain what happened to Horror and Killer. As infuriating and terrifying as his impromptu exit had been, they had heeded Cross's warning and placed him in one of the Horror Tale's magic nullifying cells. Horror had brought as many furnishings and items as he could down there, so Cross would not wake up in an empty stone cell. Furnishings or not, it was still a cell. One Cross had insisted on being put in. What the hell happened in Marketale? The sound of a low hum pulled Killer out of his head, and he stared at his wrist, taking a moment to comprehend that it was coming from his bracelet. His gasp died in his throat when he saw it was not the owl mask he wanted to see, nor was it a crescent moon. At least, it wasn't a clear crescent moon. The crescent moon emblem on the band had glitched. It flickered and buzzed, flashing between cyan and a toxic, unhealthy-looking red.
I love this scene.
Calm down.
What the hell's wrong with you?
I'm sorry. I love this
Ruined my
scene.
immersion. I'm trying to rehearse my lines. You scared me.
Please don't make me laugh, Rosa. Please. I want to be immersed as well.
Yeah, Rosa.
I'm sorry. I'm
Leave.
sorry, guys.
You need to leave.
You need to leave.
You need to
The
leave.
crescent. Please. The crescent moon emblem on the band was glitched. It flickered and buzzed, flashing between cyan and a toxic, unhealthy-looking red and purple glitch. Don't answer. The communicator kept buzzing. Killer could not tear his gaze away from the glitched moon emblem. Do you want KJ to read Killer's thoughts as well,
I
Rosa?
was thinking that.
Okay.
KJ, do you want to do that?
Yeah, so I got lost.
Bitch, I can't.
Okay.
My bad, guys. I got lost.
Hold on.
I
Okay,
got
okay,
lost.
hold on. First,
The crescent moon album on the band was glitch. It flickered and buzzed. Don't answer to communicator kept
okay.
buzzing. Do you want to read his
Anything-
thoughts too?
Okay.
Do you want to read his
Don't
thoughts?
answer.
Stop! KJ,
No,
stop.
like,
This scene means a lot to me. I will kick you.
I'm
you gotta watch
acting.
No.
Don't answer.
Stop! KJ?
Just trust me. Just trust me. I can do a good performance. Just trust me.
Just do your regular voice!
Keep going.
God, okay. The communicator kept buzzing. Killer could not tear his gaze away from the glitch moon emblem.
Don't answer.
I'm kicking him. I'm kicking him. I'm kicking. I'm kicking him.
No.
I'm kicking him. I'm
No,
kicking him.
I sneezed.
I'm kicking him. I server muted him.
One-
I'm kicking him. I'm kicking him. I'm kicking him. This is so important to me. I'm not letting him fuck this up. KJ? I'm not letting you do this. I'm not letting you do this. KJ?
Can we get a poll? Can we get a poll?
No! We're losing literal
Chat,
followers. We're
listen,
not losing
chat,
followers, but we're
not
losing.
We're not losing. People are
We were
falling
at
asleep to
30.
my acting.
We're
They're
at
falling asleep
30.
to my-
We were at
'Cause you keep
30.
interrupting. Because you keep interrupting. It's true.
If you do that again, I am kicking you from this call.
Okay.
Hold on, my mom's texting me.
Wow.
Get your head in the game.
No, this is actually
broken
like
out of my
really
immersion
important.
immediately.
Sorry. Hold 1
Broken out
second.
of my immersion immediately.
KJ, please. I literally. I don't think you understand how much this scene means to me. I need you to
Practice
lock
your
in.
voice.
I
Practice your
will act-
voice.
Act in your regular killer voice. Your Roseverse killer voice. Not the fandom one. I hate it just as much as you.
Go. Keep reading.
Okay, okay. A bead of sweat trickled down Killer's face.
Don't answer.
It's over. It's over. It's over.
That is asthmatic,
No!
bro. Oh
No!
You're going on timeout. You're going on
Don't
timeout.
Don't answer. Don't.
You're going on
I don't
timeout.
want them to answer. He doesn't want them to.
Oh, grandma.
He's super
Grandma.
muted. I'm done with that. Keep going. Keep going. He's not reading anymore. Your turn, Beetle.
Okay,
I get to do my killer impression. Yay.
how exciting. A bead of sweat trickled down Killer's face. Don't answer. Don't answer. Don't. The communicator continued to buzz. It would stop ringing soon. The glitched moon emblem burned its image into his mind even as he squeezed his eye sockets shut. Killer's magic reacted and the call connected. Killer. Hang up. Hang up now. Hang up. I didn't think you were the one to utilize the silent treatment, Killer. You should know better than that. It sounded like Nightmare, the tone, the inflections, the hint of exasperation. Killer could picture Nightmare's tentacles flicking behind him as he massaged his skull, trying to ward off a headache. But it wasn't Nightmare. It hadn't been Nightmare in Dreamtale. Nightmare would not have made the gang hallucinate their worst fears. He would not have attacked Ink. Killer's fist clenched around the handle of a knife. He did not remember summoning one. I can sense your anger, Killer. Did your little trip to your empty world shake you so badly? And to think that you berated Ink for crying. Killer's eye sockets Wow! Killer's eye sockets itched and burned. He was watching. Was he here? Why didn't he attack me when I was alone? Or does he think I didn't need him? I'm healed. Ink healed me. I'm not corrupted anymore. What do you want, corrupted? Killer hissed. I've told you before, I'm still Nightmare. In contrast to that claim, that sounded nothing like Nightmare. The voice was too kindly in a sickeningly sinister way. It did not sound malicious at first, but it could get into his skull and burrow deep, gradually urging him to fall into his crueler instinct. Killer knew Corrupted was speaking. He wouldn't be tricked again. He had heard that voice too many times in his own head. Like I'm going to believe that. Killer's voice trembled. Shit. It doesn't matter what you believe, Corrupted claimed. I'm simply calling you to inform you of recent developments in the multiverse. His chuckle was muffled as though he was covering his mouth with his hands. It was all a part of the act. He wanted Killer to hear his laughter. Ink has been captured by the Omega timeline. Killer had felt the ground fall out from beneath him too many times in his life. Or lives, if he counted the resets. He recognized the soothing numbness of apathy as he was left adrift, unable to find purchase as the world faded into shades of gray around him. You're lying. The accusation came out too softly to convince anyone, including himself. Nightmare, no, it was Corrupted, chuckled again. If I was lying, I'd come up with something better than that. I knew you'd regret resisting me, but I had no idea it would happen so soon. He sighed, low and satisfied, and Killer could picture Corrupted tentacles curling. His fear is exquisite. The world was fuzzy. It remained that way no matter how much Killer stared to try to clear his vision. The Omega timeline thinks they're the heroes, but we all know the depths they will stoop to in order to save themselves. I give it 2 days before Ink receives an enemy's welcome. What do you think they'll do first? Experiments or torture? Poor Ink has done nothing but heroes of the Omega. Poor Ink has done nothing but the heroes of the Omega timeline are not above misplaced retribution, and they're so determined to punish you for your crimes. It seems Ink will be punished in your place. Killer's hearing was off kilter too. The air whistled loudly in his head every time he inhaled and exhaled. They're keeping him powerless with items created for something like him, a magic user and a coder. That soft, sickening voice murmured, They know what he can do and what he is, but they don't care. The only thing they care about is that he is a member of this gang. Ink's mere affiliation has condemned him to anguish and torture. They've kept his legs broken, that he can't run. I wonder if they'll break them further. It would be fitting, wouldn't it? To let Ink futilely try to crawl away to safety, just like so many of your own victims. Killer regained his voice. Shut up! There was a brief, blissful moment of silence. Don't interrupt me, Killer. Corrupted said, coldly. An icy chill crawled up Killer's spine. That sounded like Nightmare again. Exactly like him. Killer recognized the exact tone he used and remembered his boss's terse disappointment after his ill-conceived prank that sent Ink to Goner. Killer had heard a rattling sound, but could not find where it was coming from until he looked at his own arm and realized he was trembling. Ink will be tortured. He will become Dr. Felsgaster's latest experiment. He will suffer, then he will die at the enemy's hands alone and in pain. Nightmare's voice curled around him. and you will all die one by one. You won't last without me. You need me. Just let me back in, Killer. Then you won't have to struggle anymore. The voice came from the communicator, but Killer heard it inside his head. The sound he made was a warped mix between a sob and a laugh. I just got rid of you, Corrupted. Like hell if I'm going back again. I don't need you. None of us do. So we're going to save Inc. and the boss. So fuck off. Corrupted's laughter was deep and glitched, sounding more like airs than anything like Nightmare would make. The sound of it triggered such a frightening reaction in Killer's soul that its form wavered. I don't need saving, and you cannot save Inc., Killer. You can't even save yourselves. The communicator disconnected. Killer did not realize how close he had been to the dungeon until he heard a low thud. He looked up to see Horror in the doorway. He leaned heavily against the frame, eye sockets half closed as he shook his head in mute denial. Beside him, Dust stared blankly at Killer, his eyelights completely extinguished. Dust's fingers dug into the fabric of his scarf, hard enough that it ripped. He did not seem to notice. He's lying, right? He's just saying that because he wants to find the Omega timeline, right? Killer wasn't kind enough to encourage a comforting lie. Can Cross get in? Dust shook his head. Corfrisk has to have blocked him by now. Horror screamed. His shriek was one of agony and grief that was so familiar that Killer wanted to scream with him. Both Killer and Dust startled, frantically summoning their weapons as they searched for the threat, but there was nothing there. His eyelights burning a violent red, Horror turned on the wall and lashed out, flinging several bone attacks that stabbed deep into the stone. His fingers curled into claws, and Killer lunged, grabbing his hands before he could turn on himself. I have you. Killer almost faltered when he realized he said the same thing Cross and Horror had said to him after he found out he was corrupted. We'll figure this.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
Did you slap?
I'm sorry. It was a tick. My bad. We're figuring this out. We can keep fighting. They're going to punish him for our crimes. Horror snarled, came out, choked and breathy, like he could not get enough air. They're gonna hurt him because of us. Killer already knew that, but hearing it said out loud felt like a knife to the chest. Killer's emotions slipped away, leaving behind a cold sense of clarity. His gaze flicked to the temporary lighting on the wall and let go of Horror's hands, brushing past him into the dungeon. Cross was still laid out in his self-requested prison. Killer sat at the edge of his mattress and grabbed his shoulder, pulsing his magic. Cross woke instantly, yelling as he swung at Killer. Killer easily dodged his punch and caught his hand. It's me. Cross blinked in confusion, staring at his surroundings, before his eye sockets widened with fear. Why the hell did you wake me? I don't know what's going on right with you, but we need you right now, Killer interrupted harshly. Inc. has been captured by the Omega timeline. Cross's confusion and self-doubt faded in favor of pure terror. Can't get in. The Corfris blocked me. We're not breaking into the Omega timeline, Killer stated. His voice remained eerily calm, almost pleasant in its even tone. We're taking the remaining parts for Horror Tales core from another AU, a positive AU. Horror was shaken out of his shock. His eyelights focused on Killer's face. Cross stammered. He reached for his neck, but his purple cape was gone. There was nothing to hold on to except the collar of his usual coat. I can't. Killer put his hands on Cross's shoulders and looked at him in the eye sockets. I know what it's like to be scared of yourself, but we need you. A positive AU will be better defended, but it's less likely that Corrupted will follow us there. I don't want to have to rely on tokens to get out. Cross went silent. Dust's brow furrowed. What? We're going now? Killer, we're missing 2 members, including the boss. What if the Star Sands show up? The longer we wait, the longer Inc. will be in their hands, Killer snarled. And I want the Stars to show up to fight us. They took Inc. Dust put together his plan. You want to take Blue hostage and offer an exchange. Blue, Red, Dream, himself, or anyone we can get our hands on that they'll give a shit about, Killer confirmed. He barely recognized his own voice. No, that was a lie. The truth was he did. He recognized the anger and desire for violence, but this time he knew it was all him. It had to be all him. Dust and Horror looked at each other. cross-rocked slightly as he stared at the stone floor of his cell. It was Horror who said what they were all thinking. Ink would not want this. I know he won't, Killer admitted coldly, but he won't have a choice. Nightmare was corrupted. Ink was the only one that could help him and save them all, but he had been captured by the Omega Timeline, who were so insisted that they were heroes that merely being associated with Nightmare's gang was a crime worthy of severe punishment. Horror's near death had strained the delicate cycle of attacking and defense between the two sides, but Ink's capture had finally broken it. This meant war.
Notice how good and clean that one was. You know, so nice. The acting was great. It was amazing. We didn't have to worry about an annoying little brat in our ears. It was just so nice and calm. It was great.
Why is Doodler threatening my life? Stop. Beetle, I'm going to kill you. Enough. Don't answer.
Don't answer, don't answer, don't answer. And the worst part is I was genuinely so excited for a KJ and Beetle back and forth. Because they are both such good actors. It would have been so good. Because KJ's a great actor, but then he had to pull this shit. I'm mad because KJ is a good actor and he was doing this shit. That's why I'm mad. That's why I'm dissing the boy.
That's why I'm mad. Me when I'm mad.
Me when I'm mad.
Me when I'm mad. Oh yeah, that's where I am. Me when I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Slay. Dr. Toriel had told the truth. The hospital was situated right by a park. The greenery appeared to be bathed in golden sunlight, but Ink knew the weather and climate inside the Omega Timeline were artificially controlled. Corps Frisk and their allies had put a lot of effort into making this world a pleasant, welcoming place for the displaced of the multiverse. If only the attitudes of the ones in charge matched the welcoming exterior. The park was beautiful. There was no denying that. Several monsters wandered along the cobblestone paths. Others sat on wooden benches or the grassy ground beneath the lush, leaf-filled branches of the trees, staring out over the crystalline lake in the park's center. A type of swap Asgore enjoyed a picnic with a steampunk-inspired Undine and Alphys, and a child Frisk who appeared to be some type of mage, and a cybernetically enhanced Papyrus and Sans. Above them, an adult Kara wearing an outfit with medieval inspirations sat in a tree reading a book. Lush?
Just keep
I'm sorry.
reading.
I'm sorry. I won't look at No Mic anymore. Stop being funny, Doodler. There were even fauna like the ones
We're
that
almost
could be
3 hours in and you're not even done with the second chapter, Beetle. This is a
long
nightmare.
chapters. These were long chapters.
The Prism chapters took like maybe 5 hours, and this one is about to take like 6 hours to get through 4.
Not my fault. I've been reading extra faster today. That's how I'm using grammar. Oh my god.
Stop getting distracted!
Lazily flew by Ink and settled on a golden flower, while several birds flew above. If not for the white sky, some may believe this was the surface of the pacifist timeline that most monsters dreamed of. None of them got that ending. They got genocide timelines, obliteration timelines, error, or the gang instead. As the Asgore had his arm in a sling, and some of his fur was missing or singed, showing he had been burned. The Undine had bandages over her eye, and Alphys had to help her reach her fork because her depth perception was off. The Papyrus was missing an arm and commented that it would match Sans' leg now. His brother smiled, but it couldn't hide how he looked ready to cry. The Frisk showed no visible injuries, but moved slowly and carefully as they picked up a pitcher of ice water. The car's wrist and head were wrapped, leaving Ink to wonder how they climbed up the tree in the first place. In spite of the tragedies that brought these people here, Ink understood the appeal of such a place for the average multiverse resident, particularly when they had a few other options. It did not appeal to him considering he was being held against his will. It would not have appealed to him regardless of how and why he got here. The neighbors had made him uneasy. Ink did his best not to stare openly at Color and held his tongue so he would not make a sarcastic comment. His guard had pulled up his hood up, covering most of his distinctive colored flames. His eyelight still glowed, but he did not seem to care. Geno was the one that ended up drawing the most attention. A nurse, that must be from the nearby hospital, approached him. She was clearly an alternate of the usual innkeeper in Snowden. Ink wondered if she had been a nurse in her original AU, or if she switched careers after moving here. Sir, are you all right? Her eyes remained on Geno's face, but Ink could tell she was trying not to stare worriedly at the slash across his chest. Geno released the handles of Ink's wheelchair and gave an unbothered wave. His other hand adjusted his scarf around his neck. I'm good. This is an old injury. It's not going anywhere or doing anything. The nurse was not convinced. Ink admired her concern, even as he found some amusement in Geno's attempts to convince her that he was fine. Although Geno insisted nothing could be done, Ink wondered if he could at least heal the slash on Geno's chest when he stabilized his coats. He should try, once he figured out how to get the cuff off him, at least. Ink made sure not to look at Color too much. He did not want his guard to think he was up to anything, and he certainly did not want more of his attention. His snakes curled under his scarf, passive and still. Ink was not sure he could make them return to a two-dimensional form and sink into the fabric like this. Even if he did, he was not sure he could bring them back out if he needed them. He had to figure out a way to get Color to leave him alone long enough for him to try to activate his bracelet with one of his snakes, and maybe try to cut his damn cast off so he could try to remove the nullifiers beneath it. The gang would be upset, but it was better than them being left in the dark, fearing that he was already dead. Ink's chair was pulled backwards and he tensed, glancing over his shoulder at Color. Color merely pulled him back so he was in the shade provided by a tree. Ink forced his voice to work. Please don't do that again. Color's confusion faded into a considering look. Sorry, I didn't think. Ink shrugged and turned back towards Geno, who was still being questioned by the nurse. He hated how his soul reacted to Color's actions, beating so frantically that he was certain it would burst. He knew that his legs hadn't been healed on purpose, but now he was starting to wonder if there was an intentional layer of psychological attacks to it as well. It was terrifying to know that he could be dragged around without his permission, and had few options to get away. If someone tried something, don't be polite about it. Scream, make a scene. Scream and make a scene. Don't let them use expectations to trap you. The park was so peaceful. Distant laughter drifted through the warm air, and a pleasant breeze brushed over Ink, so gentle that it didn't burn at all. Ink might have been given in to sleep in a different situation. He forced himself to remain alert, as his eyelights constantly swept over his surroundings. Several more people wandered into the park. Many showed signs of injury, but not all. Ink did not need to perform a scan to know if some of those injuries were hidden by clothes or weren't visible at all. He knew someone had encouraged his visit so he could see what the gang had done. But that effort failed because Ink knew it wasn't just the gang that did this. The whole point was that there was more than the gang to worry about, yet the Omega timeline kept focusing purely on them in error like they had thought defeating their enemies would fix everything. It wouldn't. It would just cause more suffering. That did not stop the view from hurting, nor did it stop Ink from wishing he could rip the nullifier off his body so he could heal some of these people. He could do so much more than that if the Omega timeline would stop and listen for once in their stars-damned lives. Ink shut his eye sockets and took a calming breath. Are you in pain? Color asked. Yes. No, Ink lied, because he did not want to be returned to his room yet. He looked away from Geno, who was becoming increasingly puzzled by the nurse's questions and displaying a surprising amount of patience in answering them, and idly watched several more monsters drawn in by the park's peaceful atmosphere. Ink was far from the only one to consider their surroundings with suspicion, as though they expected the promise of safety to be fake. It was fake for Ink, maybe not for them. A pair of Sanses caught his attention as they helped the other along, supporting his weight. Both wore hoodies, one blue, one yellow. Though the former's was a deeper blue than what most Sanses wore, the two Sanses sat on one of the park benches, their backs to Ink, as they looked out over the water of the lake. The one with the yellow hoodie had his hood up, covering his skull. The blue one didn't. Bro, he could not be more obvious. Ink recognized Blue one. He had no doubt that Sans...
No idea who that could be.
Literally! Oh my god. Like, he's so obvious with his yellow, bright yellow... thing. Fuck, okay.
At least we're something like dark, like...
Literally. Oh my god. Or like an opposite color.
Also,
Shit.
check
Anyway,
DMs when you can.
I just did.
You're so efficient.
Thank you, Rosa Queen. Thank you, Rosa Queen. Okay. Where are we? Ink recognized Blue on sight. He had no doubt that the sands in the yellow was actually Dream. His first thought was that they had been sent in on purpose by the council, but then he recalled the Star Sands' conversation with Ark. He could not see them agreeing to such subterfuge. A third Sans joined them, his black jacket removed in favor of a red turtleneck, but Ink knew it was red. All three were right there. Color's hand landed on Ink's shoulder, his eyes flashed rapidly between orange and yellow. Don't even think about it. What would Color do if Ink called out for Dream, Blue and Red? Would he play it off? Lie to their faces? Did he have the authority to make them leave Ark with them? Color's eye lights stopped flashing, settling on the yellow shade of justice, and Ink finally understood what he was missing. Color thought Ink would try to attack Dream. Ink was in a wheelchair, with several broken bones and his magic and coding abilities suppressed, but Color, and whoever knew about Ark in the council, still thought he was a threat. His frustration and fear clawed at his throat, but he suspected he would not be loud enough to draw Dream's attention, since he felt like he would choke instead of scream. He wasn't loud enough. His distressed emotions should have already drawn Dream's attention. Dream did not even look at him. He leaned against Blue's side and did not look back despite the storm of fear and desperation right behind him. Ink didn't understand. Dream had to have noticed, right? Had he been wrong? There was one way to find out. Don't hesitate to make a scene if it keeps you safe. Ink's soul pulsed a desperate rapid tempo in his ribcage. It was accompanied by the ragged sound of his own breathing. He needed to breathe because he needed air to try to call out to Blue. Would he be loud? Would he be loud enough? Or would the background noise cover him up? Ink's entire body quivered with tension. It was so severe that he almost did not notice the brief sting of pain in his upper leg beneath his cast. A hauntingly familiar chill went through Ink and his pulse slowed. It wasn't in the IV. Ink was Ink's last coherent thought. He barely had time to realize what was happening before he was forced into unconsciousness.
I love the hint because you can literally sit here when he's like in that room. Something pierces his leg.
Yes. He felt a twinge.
He felt like a twinge.
I had to hold back from going,
I know.
foreshadowing.
Oh, it's foreshadowing so good. It's so delicious. It's so delicious.
And I'm just so insane. Oh my god. You look like shit.
Delicious.
Red's greeting was Red's greeting as he joined Blue and Dream on the bench. Blue pretended to do a tisk at his language. Dream merely hummed, leaning heavily against him as he looked at Red with yellow eyelights. Thank you for visiting, Red. Had nothing better to do, Red claimed. Edge is acting funny, so I'm giving him some space to sort out whatever's going on in his skull. Funny how? Blue asked curiously. Red gave him a droll stare. He put bone attacks in the fridge, lasagna in his bone attack drawer, and put the key in. What? I'm confused by this sentence. He put bone attacks
in the fridge, lasagna in his bone attack drawer, and put the key to our house in the medicine cabinet.
I think he's distracted. Not gonna lie. He rolled his eyelids, but Blue could tell he was concerned. He acted like this after we went to Undertop too. Blue had some suspicions why Edge was distracted last time. It wasn't their problem right now. Dream could not help Ark. He could barely help himself. He could barely walk. Blue had to support him to get him out of Golden Rune and into the park beside it. The atmosphere should have been better for Dream out here. Blue focused on all the care, hope, and joy he could muster for Dream's sake. Thank you for visiting, Dream murmured. Blue and Red glanced at each other and quickly looked away. Red cleared his throat. You, said that already. Oh. Dream sighed and leaned heavily against Blue's side. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. Aren't we all? Red grumbled. Dream reached out and grabbed his hand. You don't have to pretend around us, you know? Red's scowl faltered and he clenched his teeth. Well, crying won't help now, will it? Dream's shrug was listless. I suppose not. It wasn't that Blue expected him to deny it, but Dream's quiet acceptance was even worse than his attempts to make everything seem okay. Red seemed to feel that way too as he stared at Dream with an utterly lost expression. The following silence was unbearable. Ascor wants to visit you, by the way, Blue blurted. He didn't get the chance before you were transferred. He's bringing several of his teas. It took several moments for Dream to process his comment and respond. His brow furrowed and he ducked his head, fingers tugging at the sleeve of his hoodie. Sans's were always pale, but Dream looked particularly ashen in the bright
I need you
yellow
to
fabric.
pause and I need you to read what Grey Shadow just said in chat, please.
I'm scared. Let's see. La, la, la.
Fellas,
You
is
can-
it gay to succumb to disease in your bestie's arm?
I'm sorry. What?
Yes, it is, Grey Shadow. Yes, it is. Yes, it fucking is. Grey
is it
Shadow,
gay?
you are
Used to
so real. Always coming in with the best takes. Oh
Arms.
my god.
They're just
Given
friends,
history,
Your
yes, 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 it is. Oh my Lanta.
Honor. Hello, Jubilee. Jubilee.
Just friends that sleep in the same bed sometimes. Exactly.
They're just friends, but they like
They're
make
just
each other better.
roommates, guys. They just live together and sleep in the same bed and sometimes like kiss. Just for positivity intake, you know? Like, nothing else. It is completely platonic.
Bros supporting bros.
They're
Bro,
just
bro, bro.
friends. Historians, Buddy will call them brothers. I'm _ Buddy will call them brothers. We will call them roommates. And the world knows them as gay.
Literally. Okay, hold on. I have to do.
Rosa, I need you to read Spilled Ink soon because I just remembered a scene you will love. They kiss for the bit guys only. And historians will call them good friends, besties, roommate, colleagues. Just like Sherlock Holmes and Watson. They are just friends. They are just really good pals.
Okay.
Also, I'm letting chat know that my throat's already giving out. So we're taking forever. So we're probably gonna end off on this chapter. I might do a little bit of a talking stream if I feel like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see if people are down for that after this stream. We will see.
We will see. Alright. That's nice of him. Thank you. A startled shout came from behind him, and Dream physically flinched. Apparently, one of the patients had passed out. Blue anxiously watched several nearby nurses and doctors rush in to help the poor Sans. They weren't as fast as another Sans with a red scarf and white pixels over his eye socket. He shoved the other Sans that was near the unconscious one's chair, and his hood fell back, revealing color. What was he doing here? Was he guarding that Sans? Who was he? What did you do? The scarf-wailing Sans snarled. Color raised his hands in a sign of peace. I didn't touch him, Geno. That kind of nickname was a quick identifier for what kind of world he came from. Blue suppressed the instinctive wince that he got whenever he realized how lucky he and Underswap were. Dream gripped his sleeve, and Blue remained in place, debating whether he should step in yet. A rabbit monster that acted as as a nurse from the nearby hospital jogged up to Geno and put a hand on him. It's okay, Geno, the nurse soothed him. We're all safe here. Your friend is going to be fine. Geno gave her a dark look. The pixels over his right eye socket flickered, almost like they were glitching. He's terrified, Dream whispered. I can see it, but I can't. Dream looked more distressed. Red leaned in to the side to try to get a better view of the unconscious Sans. His scowl deepened as his eye sockets narrowed. Wait, is that? Gah! Core Frisk appeared between Blue and Red, using them to hide themselves from the other visitors in the park. Since most of the locals were distracted by the Sans' collapse, it was not difficult. Core Frisk looked to be on the verge of tears as they briefly gripped the two Sans' sleeve. Danstel is under attack. It's Nightmare's gang. They're back. Core Frisk vanished before anyone else could notice them. Blue was not surprised when Red stood up with him. His fingers clenched and unclenched as he scowled, jerking his chin in a defiant manner. I'm going, Red growled.
Idiot.
He glanced behind him. Huh?
He's an idiot.
What? Oh, you called him an idiot.
Yeah.
I gotta say this thought out loud because it made me giggle like 2 seconds ago. Blue is like the little the little privileged white boy of the group.
Stop it! Oh my god, you're right. Fuck. He's privileged, he has
came
privilege, he
from-
has privilege.
This happy AU where they get to go to the surface.
They see the sun and they're humans fine and everything's so great.
Then
He's-
again, he does get kidnapped by error at some point. If that, depending on who you ask.
Spoilers?
That's no. I'm talking about in the
Oh.
fandom sense.
But also in this too, he's a little. He got the
does?
bare minimum. Bro, that's so funny.
So funny. Anyway, Dream looked up at Blue and Red, breathing shallow and eyelids so faded they were barely there. He placed his hands on the arm of the bench and pushed himself up to his feet. Blue caught him before he could stumble. Dream, I have to, Dream whispered. Blue could not argue with him. In any other circumstance, he would cheer to see the stubborn glint in Dream's eyelids, but right now, he wanted to beg him to conserve his energy. He wouldn't. If Dream stayed behind now, he would feel like he'd given up. Red did not look particularly happy with Dream's decision, or his own. He did not want to fight, but Blue supposed Red couldn't afford not to care anymore. None of them could. Arizona break. Although Aster was a scientist, oh my goodness, this part, my heart, okay. Although Aster was a scientist, not all of his downtime reading had to do with scientific subjects and non-fictional matters. He enjoyed tales of adventure and fantasy as well, particularly their unique interpretations of dragons, and that were very real in Aster's world. One of the most uncommon aspects of those stories was some type of conflict with authority and the bureaucracy that served them. Aster had never truly understood why bureaucracy was made to be such an obstacle in many stories. Now he wished that kind of bureaucracy had remained fictional. I must talk to Corfrisk, Ask pleaded, holding his phone against his cheek as he shouldered open the door to his lab. Please, it's an urgent matter. Corfrisk would know if it was. The monster on the other end of the line interrupted. Aster had never been in the console building to know for certain, but he suspected this might be a politics bear variant. Regardless of their identity, they proved to be unable to comprehend what
Cut out, you cut out, you cut out, you cut out. You cut out, you cut out, you cut out. Beetle, you cut out, you cut out.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Where?
Regardless of their identity.
Regardless of their identity, they proved to be unable to comprehend that Corfrisk might not be aware of everything. If they haven't answered, they're busy. I'm certain that's not how it works in this instant. Aster knew he would not get anywhere with this person. He had already spent almost an hour pleading with him. He did not waste any more time. Please, please have them contact me when they're available. He hung up and put his phone in his pocket before he covered his face. What had once been a suspicion was as good as confirmed. Corfrisk had not, and still did not, know. Shield was arc, was ink. They had not known back in Aftertale, and they did not know now. It was not a stretch to say that others may be capable of similar shielding things from their sight. Aster's guess was that Corfrisk was intentionally being kept in the dark about how the Protector was right under their nose. He had some suspicions as to who may be responsible. Aster gathered himself and walked into the skyscraper labs for what may be the last time. It was surprisingly easy to act like nothing was amiss and that he was not stepping foot into a place that could be extremely dangerous for him now. Several monsters were on break, but Aster did not see Stretch or Alphys among them. He did, however, see Gaster, with an underswap Gaster. It would be more accurate to say that Swapster was talking Gaster's figurative ear off, while Gaster looked at him like he wanted to go back to the abyss. Aster went right up to them and Swapster brightened. Hello there, I don't believe we've met. Gaster, we're needed back in the lab. Aster interrupted. He lowered his voice. Walk with me. Gaster immediately picked up the tablet that lay on the table beside him and rose from his seat. Swapster followed suit, an easygoing smile on his face. You work with my orange not son, correct? Yes, Aster said briefly. Stretch had spoken about his not dad before. The question was, could Aster trust this other Gaster? Aster forced himself not to glance over his shoulder as they made their way towards the stairs, not the elevator. He'd hoped the stairway was empty. He halted between the second and third floors He halted between the second and third floor before turning to Gaster. He found him. He's in the Omega timeline, but we need to get him out. He's injured. He's injured. Me when genders. Gaster's features went blank. He held the tablet close to his chest with one hand, his fingers curling tightly around its edge. How badly injured is he? He has several broken bones and cannot walk. Aster confirmed. They're keeping him from healing. Aster closed his eye sockets and exhaled in a slow, deliberate way that suggested he was trying to maintain his calm. They do realize that he is the only one that could save us, right? Apparently not, Aster said grimly. Swapter looked between them as his cheery expression fell into a grave look. Fel finally did something, huh? Has Stretch told you about our projects? Aster asked. Swapter shrugged. Only implications. Fel had been acting off lately. I put a couple pieces together on my own. If he was looking, that may be a good sign. If he truthfully was looking. The more people that knew about ink, the more likely the word would reach Core Frisk, and the harder it would be for ink to disappear. Aster took a gamble. If you run into Core Frisk, Blue, or Dream, tell them that we found the Protector and he's been being held hostage by the Omega timeline. Swapster nodded, and abruptly went still as Aster's words fully processed. Oh. Core Frisk doesn't already know? Gaster asked. His face did an odd series of expressions. Aster recognized the look of a Gaster that had a theory confirmed, but weren't particularly happy about that fact. Swapster shook his head. Definitely not, unless we think they're willingly turning a blind eye. Is it possible that another coder could block them? Aster asked. Yes, theoretically, Gaster replied. His eye lights became unfocused. I did work with another Gaster that was well-versed in codes, but he wouldn't have unless he was ordered? Was that why he left? Aster heard slow footsteps coming from the floor above.
Top. That's what it was. I just realized. Sorry. I just remembered why Top left. That's about Top.
Swapster slung his arm across Aster's shoulders and pulled at Gaster's arm, making a show of him along. So we should definitely have a Gaster outing of some kind. If we put our brilliant minds together, I'm certain we can create something wonderful. Only blow up maybe half of the building. Oh, thank the stars, it's just you. Thanks. What a way to make me feel appreciated, Stretch said. He sounded bored, but his highlights flickered with an orange glow. Alfie took care of the cameras before she left. She went home a bit early. She's freaking out a bit. Discovering the Protector was in the Omega timeline and was being treated as a prisoner instead of an ally was certainly a stressful matter. Standing up against one of the most influential monsters in the Omega timeline to protect him was even more so. Aster winced. I'm sorry for dragging you into this. I was already there. Stretch jawed. Alfie's is having trouble figuring out what to do or who to tell, and how to tell them. It's not every day your boss holds the Protector hostage. Is he still out at the hospital? He's at a nicer one, Aster said vaguely. Who's that? Oh. Good. Stretch put his hands in his pockets and appeared deceptively at ease. We're getting him to underswap before he vanishes into some secret lab. Blue would agree. His words should be comforting. Instead, there was an uneasy silence as the three Gaster processed what he said. The Omega timeline and Underswap had been allied since before Blue fought alongside Dream. After the Star Stances were formed, it became the multiverse's other safe haven. If Stretch, and by the extension Blue, took part in a rescue effort and Queen Toriel agreed to give sanctuary to Ink, it would spell the end of that alliance. As long as the Omega timeline wanted Ink and Underswap refused to return him, they would be unable to reconcile, and their already weakened side would become even more fragmented. Stretch knew that. Blue would too. They'd help anyway, just like Aster chose to. It felt like the weight of 1,000 words were on Aster's shoulders. That was nothing compared to what Ink was expected to do, even though he was affiliated with Nightmare. The Omega timeline would not have it both ways and want the Protector's assistance while treating him like an enemy. I'm going to sabotage the machine that can potentially track him, Aster stated. Don't give Dr. Fel any reason to suspect any of you are assisting me. Swapster latched onto Stretch's hoodie. It is your break? So, it is your break, so it seems. It is time for some not son, not father. What? It is your break, so it seems it's time for some not son, not father bonding in the full break room. In the very full break room. Let us depart. He assisted an unresistant stretch.
He pulled
Down the
an
stairs.
unresistant stretch down the stairs.
I said it.
You
Second
didn't say
time.
pulled.
Oh. Yes, I guess not. I don't remember. Aster rolled his eye sockets, then turned to face Aster. We need the Protector to even try to fix this multiverse. I will do what I can to assist in your efforts. Keep me updated. I will, Answer vowed. Aster curtly nodded and quickened his pace to catch up to Stretch and Swapster, who was loudly pestering his not-son about his caffeine and honey addiction. A tense pressure in Aster's chest remained, but he pushed onward. He wanted to get that machine out of the way before Ink's data, magic, or blood could be put in and allow the scientists to potentially track him. Aster headed to the proper floor, scanned his card, stepped through the door to his lab. Inside, he saw the machine that had been used to track the presence of that other multiverse's protector, that other Ink. He did not need to sabotage it. It was already broken. Its casing shattered, its wires spilled out and sparking. There was a device on the floor beside the crumpled metal and torn wires. It was a sphere, only about 4 inches big, and had the appearance of like an orange lantern. Aster froze in place and instinctively reached up to grasp his necklace as he recognized a glow like that of the core. A series of beeps from the device was his only warning as he jerked back, turning towards the door.
Oh, I forgot about this
Aster
part.
only got a glimpse of fell Alfie's before a claw hand shoved him hard, pushing him in the lab door, slammed shut behind him. He threw his hands in front of him to try to catch himself, catching the necklace as he did so, and the chain snapped, causing the blue crystal to fall off the floor between his hands. The core bomb gave a shrill tone and went off. The blast caught the broken machine on fire, and everything became a burning black. That's the end of chapter 31!
What really confuses me is I always forget this part. Did Judge
I don't.
Undying destroy it, or was it just simply Alphys? Because it said an orange sphere. Okay.
It was fucking Alphys, bro. Oh,
I hate this
yeah.
bitch! Okay, so next Saturday we are going to be starting on chapter 32. If it isn't paranoia, if they're out. It isn't paranoia if they're out to get you. Isn't that fun? I'm so sorry this one took so long. I'm sorry for KJ's interruption.
Fun little intermission.
I really... Yeah. He's just so
Yeah.
great. He's great! He's great!
Bazinga.
Bazinga!
Sorry.
Though my throat is very, like, rough right now. There's a chance that... Because, like, reading and then drawing quietly while my friends banter and stuff, it's very different. So... I don't know if I'm gonna go live and do a chat, like just chatting stream. I think a lot of people are gonna go to sleep, so probably not, because I don't know if people are gonna be interested in yet.
Literally dog day, and he's so sad.
And I don't think KJ will join because I warded him off. So he's like a little gremlin that like
Evil spirit.
he'll come pop up in like very like few moments, but then like you like shoo him away and he'll disappear back into his hidey hole and won't come out. So I don't think, I don't know. I'll probably just play Sonic EX on Roblox
Hell
with
Hell
Mill
yeah.
and Void because I know they're waiting for me.
What about me?
And Beetle. We've been obsessed with playing Sonic EX on Roblox. It's really good. I want to listen to you
Everyone
yap.
plays-
Oh, by the way, Rosa, I re-uploaded the funny moments. Let me see if anyone would be willing to get onto a just chatting stream real quick. Everyone would join a just chatting stream right now. Have you done Tower of Death? I'm not a big Roblox player. Also, I will be trying to draw with this just chatting stream, but I can't promise it's gonna look good. Morgs is probably not gonna be joining that shit. He just sent dust.
He sent a gif of a fucking tumbleweed.
He ain't like no one's probably gonna do it. I'm not a big Roblox player, so I don't play a lot of different games. I play Sonic EX, and then I play Undertale Roleplay, and that's kind of it. You know?
I like Hello Kitty Tower Obby.
I'm playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
I'm playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
I love the cutesy little calm obbies. It makes me calm.
I'm playing
Undertale
Hello Kitty
roleplay?
Island Adventure.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Why is there 42 people here when I'm about to end stream? Guys.
You said just chatting. You said just chatting. You've mentioned KJ. You've mentioned Roblox. You said all the key words.
Looks like they're coming out of the woodworks. No one is probably gonna join that though. I think everyone's asleep in the Rose Gang server. Nobody's gonna be doing that shit.
Why are they all asleep? It's only
Late at night.
12:30. It's only 12:30.
The only people that would be up to do that is Morgs and Null. And Null doesn't really like going on live. And Morgs, I have stuff I need to do anyways. I have homework. That's not due until like 2 weeks from now, because I'm 2 weeks ahead. And I also have to send people references. I already have to gather a lot of stuff. So probably best to just end stream here and wait until like maybe, I don't know, next week until I come back. Is the server on Twitch or Discord? This is a private server with me and my friend group called the Rose Gang. I do not have a Discord server. I don't want one because it's very hard to moderate. And I don't trust people to moderate the server. So, sorry about that. I keep guys, if we get to 6,000 subs, we will open a Discord server. No, wait. No,
First it was 5,000 subs, you guys. Then it was 6,000. Then it was 10,000. And now it's never. Actually,
we are
guys,
not
no.
opening that server.
Sorry, guys.
I just don't tend to like Discord anymore. I use it obviously, but the only people I talk to on there are my Rose Gang friend group. If you're ever curious who's still in that, because of my Tumblr shade post I did a couple days ago, I should probably clarify who's still in it. Veramus, Void, TK, Top, Slim, they go by different names. Skashu, my girlfriend, Luan or Quinn, KJ, obviously, Doodler, Barnacle, Art. I know I don't talk about Art a lot, but I swear to God, he's alive. I swear to God. I just, Morgs, KJ, and Art and I are working on something that's gonna come out probably this week that I just have to finish up, but they finished their lines for it. It's really nice. Noel, Morgs, obviously, and then Beetle. So, oh, and also, Mill.
Mix Mill.
Mill is now a part of the Rose Gang. I've talked about Mill_Leon a lot. I've known them since I was 16. IRL. They're my IRL friend and online friend. So.
100k subs and the Discord will be open for 2 minutes.
Yes! I think at that point, if I have enough, I also don't think a lot of people will be joining, and I'm just really, and I mean, I say that, but I have 71,000 people on my TikTok, and then I have almost 2,000 on my Instagram, so if I advertise it actually, then maybe people will join, but I don't know, it's just a lot of people, and I also would probably make it 16 plus, and so that also knocks down a big portion of people. So I'm not comfortable with people under a certain age being in a server.
Secret evil Discord.
I get why people want it. I do. It's just not something I'm considering. Anyways, I'm filling up this live when people are probably going to rewatch it to keep up with it. So I'm probably going to end stream here. Thank you for watching with us. I'm so sorry we're ending after only 2 chapters. I promise this will not be a habit. I am just tired. This week has been draining. So
Mm,
I love y'all so
No.
much.
yes.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Good night, guys. Bye. Bye bye.